Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another Facebook Live tonight as the second track in North America opens in Cleveland, Ohio. It's Northfield Park, MGM Northfield Park, and glad to have you along for our event tonight. And tonight we are presented by Equine Equipment, Cool Winds Farms, Centera Country Store, Kim Hill Real Estate, and Hagemeyer Farms as we get ready for racing. Well, I say we get ready for racing. 3 races are already in the books at Northfield Park. And joining us tonight, as always, the OHHA brand ambassador, Roger Houston, the longtime former Northfield handicapper, the Giss, Keith Gisser, and the man in charge of putting these races together at MGM Northfield Park, Dave Bianconi. And first, let's go to Dave. Dave, welcome. You got to be happy you're racing again.
Yeah, it's just so good to be back. I mean, Keith can attest to this. We have not had more than a week off without racing since I think sometime in the late 90s. So this has been a really long break, and everybody's glad to be back in action, although we prefer to have spectators here, obviously.
How about 3 races in the book? You got to like what you see in the handle so far.
Yeah, it's good. We're doing, I think we're like 373 through 3 races, so can't complain about that. Yeah.
Dave, in a situation like this, do you guys have an expectation going in, or is this really flying blind since nothing like this has ever happened before?
I would say flying blind because
I know you're very projected oriented, but it's almost impossible in this kind of a situation.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it would be better than a normal night, just the way things have been going. But, I don't know. I didn't want to make any kind of surefire prediction. That's for sure.
You're also a Tuesday night's not the best night of the week either.
No, and it's been a long weekend. It's got some tired money out there possibly, but, so far so good.
Well, let's take a look. We're getting ready. We're about a minute away from the 4th, so let's take a quick look at the card, and then we'll take a look at our picks. Dave, I didn't get your picks. Not sure if you're allowed to pick or not, but, once we get to that point, if you want to throw that in there. But here's where we are for the 4th, and Roger, take it over.
4th race coming to the track. It's a starter allowance event, and you've got win, play, show, exacta try, 20-cent superfecta wagering, field of 9. Now, please note at Northfield, 1 through 8 on the gate. The 9 horse is a trailer in the second tier. We got 1 horse, the 4, Starry 19, is up in class. Now, some of the names you got to pay attention to tonight. They're always towards the top of the list. Drivers Aaron Merriman, you got Chris Page, you got Ronnie Wren Jr., Kurt Sugg. Trainers, you got Bill Rhodes and C. Brian Loney. Tony Hall's at Northfield tonight, and he's one of the top drivers at the Meadows on a regular basis. So we got a field of 9, and right now the betting favorite 9-5 is the 2, Dance Life Well. Now, I'll tell you, the morning line has been pretty good at Northfield, so if you're trying to go against the morning line, you may have a rough way to go. And I went against the morning line first 3 races, and I had 3 losers. But this time I'm going with the morning line, and that's Dance Life Well. Aaron Merriman for Bill Rhodes. They've been lethal at Northfield last year and early this year as well. So in this first race, I'm at 2-9-6-1. Dance Life Well. Now, Keith Gisser, how does the 9 horse play? Can you throw the 9 out anytime?
The 9's almost impossible to throw out on trifecta, superfecta tickets. Win percentage typically, and again, we're starting over here, so the stats may not be that accurate, between the 5 and the 6 horse as far as win stats. But as far as on the board percentage, this is one of the 3 or 4 best posts to have because you can get, I don't want to say an easy trip, but a safe trip without having to be on the outside. And especially if you have a horse on the inside in the 1 or 2 hole who leaves aggressively, you're going to be forwardly placed early. All you've got to do is race evenly from there to get a minor piece.
Now, we didn't talk about this, but you and I've got total agreement in this race.
Yeah, we do, and that's very unusual over the years. So we'll see what happens. Dance Life Well was racing so well prior to the break. The one horse that I find very interesting is the one you mentioned, Starry 19. This horse has actually been off a full year. He qualified once and then couldn't race, qualified again. This horse could be anything. The qualifiers are nothing to write home about, but this horse could be absolutely anything. I got to give Dave credit for I don't know if he actually wrote this condition, making it a starter allowance race, but I know it can sometimes be hard getting balanced fields. He put together a balanced field here, considering what he had to work with.
Dave, talk
Frank,
about
how do you see the fourth race.
Dave,
Frank?
talk a little bit about, I'll get to me in a second. Dave, talk a little bit about putting the conditions together for these races. You're on mute. You muted your microphone, Dave.
Doing a lot of off-air cursing, so I had to mute that. But
It's nice to be on a broadcast where I'm not the least technologically able person there.
for sure. OHHA didn't really want a lot of claiming races after the break. They wanted guys to be able to hang on to their horses for a couple of starts, thus this event. And it turned out okay. Like you mentioned, it's a pretty even race. And yeah, I don't usually give picks since I'm the race secretary, but my picks aren't that great anyway. So Frank, you may as well tell them who you like. Or Keith, who's up next? Who was up with the pick?
I went already. Roger and I are in agreement here. So
Okay.
Yeah, I like Dance Life Well as well. You guys talked about that. I got Guns N' Roses, the 9-hole horse coming second. Then I got 3 and 6, so we're close. We got 3 of the top 4, and our fourth one who was listed there, let me see if I can get back to that here, is Steve Bateson, who's supposed to be joining us at some point tonight. Steve's going to be popping in. We're also going to have Derek Givner of the Daily Racing Forum Harness, the editor. He's supposed to pop in a little later tonight. He's babysitting his kids, but I'm sorry, it's not babysitting when it's your own kids. You know, I got to make sure. My wife always told me that. You're not
what's more important? What's more important, taking care of your kids or opening night back at Northfield Park? You got to get your priorities straight at some point there.
Exactly.
well,
Go ahead, Keith.
maybe later in the evening we'll share some Derek stories.
Yeah.
There you go. So, but yeah, I like the 2-9-3-6 in this one. As I was telling Keith earlier, Dave, Friday night when we did this, Derek had a couple of winners. Roger had a couple of winners. Dave Brower had one. I had my one on the last race, which ended up being a dead heat. And then Saturday night we did it again, and Roger and I were the top with 2 each at picking about 6 races. And Brower got shut, or Gibner got shut out. Brower had 1 winner and everything. But Dave, talk a little bit about how difficult it's been being laid off and then trying to get everything back in such a rush. You had qualifiers, you had everything you had to do to get the horses ready to go, and your staff really did a great job.
Yeah, it was very strange because, it was pretty quiet for several weeks. I was doing a lot of paperwork, taking care of a lot of loose ends I never had a chance to do, cleaning up my office a little bit. But then all of a sudden, with the rush, especially when I found out we were going to have to qualify every horse in the state, I knew, and I talked to Jason Roth at Scioto, I was like, this is going to be quite an undertaking to qualify this many horses. So, and as I mentioned, a lot of the staff was furloughed, so it was down to just a few people, and it was quite an undertaking. But hey, we're here and we're racing, so all's well that ends well.
Betting favors remains the 2-horse, Dance Life Well, at 3-2, and they're scoring down, and they'll be going to the gate momentarily.
Yep, the gate should start rolling here in a minute. 2's a lukewarm favorite, as you said, Raj.
Yeah. Frank, we're going to attempt to have video and audio, and if we don't, I'll jump in, do what we've been doing in the past.
Technology is not our forefront, Roger. You and I both know that, and we've been trying our best with these things. So, but the good thing is, we're getting a lot of interest. A lot of people want to see these races. A lot of people have been commenting on it, and I think it's going to lead to some good things in the future as we've kind of, discussed a number of different things we want to try to do down the road, and we're going to, see what we can do with it and figure those type of things out. And we're just going to have some fun with it and see what we can do as we get a little bit closer.
And boys, the gate. Yep, and I should mention, people that are technologically adept, you can watch all of our races every night at northfieldpark.com for free. So if you can open up 2 screens, the races are live on northfieldpark.com free of charge. I can barely open up one screen, but I'm sure somebody can.
I am watching the races on the Northfield website, so I don't have the video problem that Frank may have.
So we're going to try to get this one, and I think we're going to try to pick up Ayers with his call here, too. We're not sure if that's going to work, but we're going to see. Gentlemen, can you see the screen? Do we have the gate rolling on the screen?
Now we got it.
Yes.
Now, I will say
All
this,
right.
the delay, there is a delay of what we're putting on the screen and the actual race itself. So if we don't have audio, I'll be ahead of the video, but let's hope we get the audio from Ayers Ratliff, announcer.
Yep. I'm going to duck out for a minute, boys. I'll be back.
Okay.
Let's see if we got. Can you hear the audio?
Race, the starting gate is rolling.
Yes.
$600 top of the stretch. Here they come. Here, off and pacing, and it is a prologue looking to go out there to the lead. On the inside comes Better in Blue as they move around the turn. Dance Life Well is now waltzing up on the outside. They round the turn to the backstretch. And Dance Life Well moves out there to get the lead. Prologue is their second. Better in Blue is third. Over there to be a fourth comes Guns N' Roses as they continue on to the opening quarter.
Now we're trying, folks.
They trip the beam in 28 seconds. And there to be next is a Starry 19 as they continue around the turn. At the Moon is next. Then you have Maradona with Wondrous Sport and Beat Shooting Star. Pace straighten away and pace down here to the half, and Aaron Merriman, he's got Dance Life Well.
Yep.
Strumming along on the lead out there by 2.5 lengths. Prologue is in second to the outside. Here comes Guns N' Roses, the half in 56 and 2. Around the turn is Better in Blue. Out there to be next is Maradona. Bet the Moon is along the inside with Wondrous Sport and Beat Shooting Star. As they pace onto the three quarters, Dance Life Well has them out there a length and a quarter on the outside. Side Prologue at the rail looking out there, three wide Maradona. As they make their way around the turn to the top of the side, Guns N' Roses far outside coming on Maradona. Dance Life Well gets it done. Finishing second was Guns N' Roses, Maradona Prologue in 153 and 3.
Well, you get to watch the finish again on the share there. You can see me in my little box there. And what we'll try to do is fix that as we move on. But it looked like the winner that time was
The two horse.
I believe it was number two. Two horse.
Number
and
two.
I do believe then, gentlemen, that we all three had the winner that time. I think we're getting a little better at this, Roger.
There you go.
Keith also had it.
And actually, Aaron got a relatively easy opening quarter there. 28 seconds for this group. Even though he had to work a little bit to get there, I think that really set things up for this race. He had enough in the tank at the end. 53 and 3 is a pretty
The nine
good
horse.
position they're coming off of.
The nine horse from that trailing position held on for second. So the order of finish is a 2.963. 2.963, and they wagered $112,000 in the fourth race.
2963 is what you said there, Roger?
That's what I got them crossing the wire.
That's correct. That's what Ayers had too. 2963.
You guys want to take a quick look at your screen? Just take a quick look at your screen. Go down to the fourth person there. You see those four numbers there in order? 2936. I had all four of them. All right.
Mm-hmm.
If this is any indication, watch out tonight. I'm going to be hot.
Woo!
All there is to it.
I guess so.
Tonight, Frank.
We'll see, though, as we move on.
This two-horse Dance Life Well is owned by, guess who? Aaron Merriman, the owner driver. Bill Rhodes, the trainer, a 8-year-old gelding, but well set at a dance fever. A winner tonight, 153 and 3 at Northfield. And of course, as everybody probably knows, Aaron Merriman, the winningest driver in North America again this season.
Hey, Roger, if you could you thank a couple of people for us?
I would love to do it. Tonight's presentation is sponsored by Equine Equipment, offering discounts for the horse world on New Holland agriculture and construction equipment, mowers, and more from industry leaders Toro and Exmark, as well as the Ohio-based Farm Paint and Tend to Horse products, and by Hagerman Farms, boarding, breeding, and foaling. Break the Bank K, Western Terror, and Nob Hill High, currently standing at Hagemeyer Farms.
Got some other people we'd like to thank as well. We definitely want to thank a couple more of our sponsors. We've had some great people come along to help us out with this, and we really appreciate their help. Also, Kim Hill Real Estate, Standardbred owners Kim and Randy Hill are thrilled to be supporting our industry. And they have offices in Dayton and Portsmouth. In Dayton, you can call it 937-344-8559. And by the Centera Co-op and Purina Animal Nutrition, continuing their partnership to help Ohio horsemen and horsewomen with innovative feeding solutions for their horses. If you have a question on what to feed your horse, expert horse nutrition and care available from Kathy Green, the Centera Equine Specialist. And by Cool Wind Farm in Lima, Ohio. It's a full-service standard-bred breeding facility standing 7 of the Buckeye State's most popular stallions, including Dancing Yankee, Rockin' Amadeus, Lucky Chucky, and Coraggioso. So glad to have them aboard again tonight. We want to thank them. They've been with us from the beginning of this, and it's been great. And, Dave, not a bad race to kick off our coverage. We were happy with that.
Yeah. You guys, a couple people picked the 2, I believe, right?
Well, Frank had the superfecta.
Frank had the
I had the superfecta if I boxed it.
That's what I'm talking
I
about.
had a whopping 1392 if I had it straight. Not exactly the greatest payouts in the world on that one, but, it's a winner. I'll take it, right, Keith?
Yeah.
You take winners whenever you get them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, win's a win. Hey, Dave,
Yes.
right now, I know most places, most simulcast locations are still closed. Is there anything, is all of this wagering being computer generated, or is there any place that you're aware of that's taking remote wagering physically?
Yeah. Texas is back open of all places. Yeah, I know.
And I saw Fowler Park is racing live.
Yeah, I don't know that they take us at Fowler Park, but I know Lone Star is open, I believe. I don't know about Sam Houston or Ratama. I believe Wyoming might be open. Who else? Arkansas might be open, like Southland. These are guesses. But I saw, it was crazy, in Texas, they don't have ADW. You can't, if you live in Texas, you can't have an ADW account. So they showed the line at Lone Star on Saturday. They were only accepting 300 people at a time to bet simulcast. There had to be 1,000 people in line trying to get in. So
I'm guessing they weren't social distancing either.
Yeah, probably not. A little better than the Lake of the Ozarks, maybe, but
Dave, you don't have the payoffs for the 4th race, do you?
I'm sorry. I was in between the mutual office and here, and I didn't see him.
Well, we're trying to get you those payoffs. We got a little tied up there and didn't get the payoffs, but I think the winner was at 6 to 5 or something like that. Paid $4 and something.
The exacta paid $6.
$6.
I did see that.
Well, the 5th race is coming up. It's a non-winners of 7,000 in the last 4 starts. Mares allowed 20%. Also eligible non-winners 8 parimutuel races. Also eligible claiming tag $20,000 with allowances versus $9,500. And we've got a field of trotters. 9 of them, 1 through 8 on the gate. 9's a trailer. A lot of class changes in this one, especially when they come in from other racetracks to Northfield. But Explosive Magic, the 1, the 4 found on a beach, and the 9, here comes Mooney, are down in class. Up in class, the 2, Chipper Don, the 3, Indiana and Amigo, and the 8, Sterling Badica. Field of 9, I'm going to go 1765. I like Explosive Magic, another morning line favorite at 2 to 1. And right now, though, Explosive Magic is 3 to 1. The 7 horse, 24K Magic, is the early favorite at 8 to 5.
And I just want to mention the 9. Here Comes Mooney, who was my top pick. Roger, you mentioned this horse as far as class change. This is, for me, more of a lateral class move. This horse is moving from a higher claiming tag, but with a condition now, winners of 8, into the straight claimer. So dropping in claiming price, but losing the condition tag. I'm not sure that it's necessarily which direction this horse is moving, I guess you would say. But the horse was in very good form prior to the break. Again, we just have to see how things go. Now, this is the big question on all of these horses. I've got him on top of the ticket. Explosive Magic, getting that class relief out of the opens. Clearly a major player here. I was looking for value, to be honest with you. And the 724K Magic, you can always do a lot worse at Northfield Park than a Ty Loy trained trotter with Aaron Merriman driving.
Frank, how do you do this one?
I'm looking at nobody's got him. Winning this thing. I got Chipper Don with Kurt Sugg in the sulky. I like him. I'm right there with you guys on Explosive Magic and Here Comes Mooney. And then, Found on a Beach, I got that fourth if I was playing the Superfecta. But I kind of like Chipper Don in this one, but we'll see what happens there. Hey, Dave, quick question for you. With Ohio being the only place racing right now, there's got to be interest from the other states to get their horses in here to Ohio. Talk about the preference that Ohio horses are getting on your grounds, the horses you have on your grounds.
Yeah, I'm definitely trying. I even had to do it in qualifiers. We had so many horses enter to qualify. I had to let, basically, I stated it on the condition sheet, and the OHHA, Bateson knew about it. He blessed it. Trainers that have raced at Northfield regularly got the advantage, and definitely Ohio breds as well. In fact, even like out of town people, if they wanted to qualify their 3-year-old Ohio breds, getting ready for stakes races, I definitely let them do it as well. So basically, I would say the preference is to trainers that have, supported Northfield traditionally through the years, and Ohio bred 3-year-olds would be the top preference. But, beyond that, if you've never raced here and you're from out of state, chances are you haven't even gotten into qualify yet, let alone race. So it's a lot of familiar names you'll see in the trainers' ranks. But I must mention a lot of local trainers did pick up out-of-town horses into their barns. And, God bless them. These guys are making money. I'm going to let them race them.
Do you think that was a foreshadowing of the fact that they thought we'd open before anybody else was going to be and they were able to get horses in?
Yes. I think, kind of the word was on the street that Ohio was getting close. And, a lot of these guys know each other, even though, they're from different states and so forth. And, you'll see some good horses coming up later on the broadcast tonight that are, coming from Yonkers, other places out east, Michigan, you name it, that now our local guys have either on our backstretch or at local farms and fairgrounds that they're doing. Ohio guys are doing the training.
I got a question for Keith. Keith, when you're handicapping, do you put more weight into the qualifying race that they've just had, or do you go back to the past performance, or is it a combination of both?
It's really got to be a combination. I want to see a horse who has done some work in the qualifier. Horse doesn't have to be necessarily 1, 2, 3. I want to see a horse that they didn't just sit on and run around, pace or trot around the track. We don't say run. I saw Dave purse in his lips. Pace or trot around the track without doing any work. So I want to see a horse who made a move, maybe paced a good quarter, but was a little bit short. But I think back class will out, and I think a horse who was in good form prior to the break. Just as one example, in this race, Chipper Don has 2 qualifiers this year, but hasn't actually raced since the end of October of last year. And this horse did good work. It was apparently a little bit short in his qualifier in May on the 18th, but I think he may need a little bit more work. It's a combination of all those factors. And then you throw in, the other thing is, and you mentioned this at the top of the broadcast, Roger, the driver angle. Who has a driver choice? This card interested me because there weren't as many driver choices as I think we usually see at Northfield. You didn't see Aaron and Ronnie Wren getting listed on 2 and 3 horses. And that's because you've got a lot of other people here who might normally be racing at the Meadows or normally racing at Scioto. So the driver colony at Northfield, which has always been strong, has always been aggressive, is probably stronger and more aggressive than it's ever been.
The trainer change, that's great.
Roger, let me jump in along the same lines with Keith. You got the number one horse changing from Ron Burke over to Jordan Hope. How big of a difference is that, changing trainers?
I mean, Roger, you saw this horse, Explosive Match. He raced in top company over there.
Yep.
And obviously Ron Burke is, top of the heap as far as harness trainers go. But you do see some horses that he sells, go forward or at least race, like they were. He's got so many horses in his barn. When you got 300 horses under your care, you can't give them all, 24/7, love. So it's not rare for Burks to sell a horse and see the new people do okay with it.
Large stable, even as large
now
as the
Steve
stable
Bateson
that
has
they
jumped
have,
in on the call.
and the fact that they make a lot of money and such, even those stables took the opportunity with the downtime, no racing, to sell some of those horses. And I'm sure that was the case in the Burke stable here with Explosive Magic.
Dave Bateson, the president of the Ohio Harness Horsemen's Association, has now jumped on to join us. Steve, welcome. Glad you could be with us.
Welcome, Keith, Roger, Frank, and Mr. Bianconi.
How's it going?
Good, good. I'm sorry I was a little bit late.
He's on a first name basis with the rest of us, but it's Mr. Bianconi.
It's Mr. Bianconi. Yes, yes. I've learned to treat Dave with the ultimate respect. Sugar does much better than spice.
He works for me. Just ask around.
Always
so that's why.
respect your elders.
Yeah.
Right. The backside seemed to think I'm Dave's protege or something, but I really do try to work for the horsemen, and Dave's been very helpful. I think we've done a nice job of implementing some things to help those guys on the backstretch. I can cite a few things, but the fact we're racing tonight, I have not caught one race yet. How are we doing tonight, Dave? That's what I'm interested in.
I think through 4, we're around 485 through 4, I want to say.
Right on.
Yeah. 120 a race.
I love how
something
Dave
like
says, I want to say, I think we're on 484. I want to say, I've worked with this guy. He knows exactly what they're on at any given moment.
So I don't
I've
think
never worked with anybody who's so well prepared. Seriously, I joke about it, but this guy, the reason he's sitting where he is right now, even when he was a young wonder kid back when I was working there, he prepares very, very well. He pays attention to the dotting the I's and crossing the T's.
Keith, he's a sandbagger. I think he's got MGM believing that tonight he hopes to do 1 million, and he's full of what, right?
Well, MG may be able to convince MGM of that, and I would go for the same thing. I would say, we were talking before you came on, we were talking about this, but seriously, in this situation, and Dave was very careful not to make any predictions, you almost have to undersell the expectation, because I don't care how prepared you are, I don't care how smart you are, nobody knows what's going to happen. Yeah, you can model it based on what Scioto did over the weekend, and those are some great numbers for them. And the kind of numbers that Northfield traditionally does. But this is just such uncharted territory, not just for the horsemen and from track management, but for the players as well, for the wagerers.
Just Frank, help me out here. What's our picks? I gave you some picks. What these guys pick for this 5th race?
We're all over the board.
Yeah, we're all over the board on this one, but if I go to them now, I'm going to lose the rate. I'm going to lose the feed. You guys have it up there?
No, just tell me what Roger and Keith picked. They're the experts.
Oh, yeah. I'm at 1765.
I'm
Keith,
at 9172.
and Frank is 2914.
What did I have?
You had, I'll look for it here in a second. We're getting ready to go here. Hopefully we'll get the audio. Come on, Ayers.
The starter has the horses. Start of pick 3. The gate is rolling.
beautiful night.
Roger, if you want to pick up the call, go for it.
That's Indiana Enemigo going for the lead. Up on the outside as they race around the turn and on to the backside. Now to take the lead, it's Chipper Don and Kurt Sugg now in command. Indiana Enemigo is there second, racing third. Found on a Beach, racing fourth. That's Hail to the King as they race around the turn. Moving on the outside. Here comes Explosive Magic and Chris Limbs. Now powering to the top. Explosive Magic, the even money favorite, has the lead by a length and a half. Racing second, Chipper Don. Third is Indiana Enemigo, racing fourth. It's Found on a Beach as they race into the lane first time, off a quarter and 28 and 1. Racing up on the outside, coming to the 3/8, it's Ryan Stahl, and here comes Mooney. Out and moving on the outside, Aaron Merriman begins the long chase as they race over to the half. 24K Magic halfway home in 57 and 3. On to the backside they go. Explosive Magic and Chris Limbs lead the way. Up on the outside second, it's Driving Miss Sadie and Tony Hall closing in on the leaders, along with Here Comes Mooney. Here Comes Mooney sticks the nose in front. Explosive Magic is here second, racing 3 wide on the outside and coming on with every stride. Here comes 24K Magic. 24K Magic and Aaron Merriman stick the head in front and go on, racing second as they race into the lane, coming home off the 3/4 in 127 and 1 through the lane. It's all Aaron Merriman drawn away, coming to the wire. 24K Magic over Driving Miss Sadie. The mile, 156, 2/5, as we get a 7 and 5 and a photo for show.
So that,
I got my money's worth out of my 10-1 shot there.
yeah, well, the 7 probably shouldn't have been a long shot. I like that horse, Ty Loy. That is our Buckeye Stallion Series champion last year as a 3-year-old filly trot. And that horse raced on the fairs. It raced in the Stallion Series. She is a really nice trotter. And quite frankly, I had her in my pick, but I had her for 4th. The rest of you guys had her either 2nd or 3rd. But what a nice filly that was. That was a big effort tonight. What did she go off at, Keith or Frank?
I was busy watching my 10-1 shot, who stuck a nose in front and then got passed in the stretch. I got a little bit excited there for a minute.
2-1. She went off at 2-1.
So she did get bet, yeah.
Who went off as the favorite? Who was the favorite?
The one.
Explosive Magic. Explosive Magic.
Yeah.
And they're still looking for him.
Numbers are posted 759, 24K Magic, Ty Loy, Columbia Station, Ohio, owns and trains Aaron Merriman, the driver, his 2nd win on the card. 156 and 2, 4-year-old mare by Don't You Forget It out of Magic Memory.
Keith, did you and Dave coordinate the blue? I mean, I'm impressed. Ohio horse and little brown jug there.
Yeah, I think you and I coordinated the jug. Chip Thompson already texted in, good job by Steve and Dave on the shirt and the hat.
Yeah,
I had to represent the OHHA. The only other thing I could have done was pull out a 20-year-old Northfield Park Players Club shirt.
that would have been good. That would have been good.
I mean, maybe if I had some sponsorship money, I could change halfway through, Dave.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Hey, how many years let's go down memory lane. How many years did you guys work together?
Part-time for 6, full-time for 10. 16 years.
Yeah.
And Dave, you had several roles in that period, didn't you?
Yeah, I started out. Go ahead, Raj.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to miss the payoffs.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, as soon as they put them up here. It is official, 7594. 7594, 156 and 2.
Okay.
Apparently, they're having some problems with their graphics, apparently.
It's official, but yeah, I don't know why the prices haven't come up yet.
No, they haven't come up yet.
Here we
This
go.
is-
There we go. $700 try if you had it. 759.
24K Magic paid $664, 23.20. Driving Miss Sadie, 1127.40. Here comes Mooney, 560. The Exacta, 68.80. The Try, $700.40. The 20-cent Super, $290.48.
Who was that, Dave?
That was mutual manager Mike Colicaro with the pop in right there. He's got the mask on, following the rules.
Well, you're a sick fellow, so I know why he wears that. Looky here, looky there, be there, be there.
See, that's a great segue into what I wanted to talk about, too. A little bit about how the horsemen have been doing a very good job following the protocols that were set up by the State Racing Commission. And very important that they continue to follow these protocols. And Dave, have you seen how well they're doing on your backside, making sure that they're keeping their social distancing, they're wearing their masks, they're doing the sanitizing, everything that they've been told to do?
Yes, I have to say, and this is a rough night to do it because it's 90 degrees, but the report I've had is everyone's doing a good job. A lot of self-policing going on with people or don't have one. The other horsemen are either giving them one or getting on them about it. And, people that have been to our backstretch, it's a pretty big backstretch. It's pretty easy to stay apart from other horsemen, if you're paying any attention at all.
Talk a little bit about how you guys are using the backstretch in the paddock when the horses come in for their race. Usually it's a 4-race paddock, I believe, and you guys are doing a 2-race now?
It's actually a 3-race, and we're doing a 2. But even that lets them be on totally opposite sides of the paddock with only using 2 races in the paddock at a time. And the shipping barns are down at the bottom of the hill, so there's quite a bit of distance there. And even the shipping barns, it might have 40 horses in it, but 8 people. It's not like everybody's in there at the same time. So the Arthur from the Racing Commission that I talk to a lot, that's our Racing Commission investigator, inspector that's here, has said that everyone's doing great, and he walks around and makes sure, there's not big groups of people and so forth. So, I have to say everyone's doing a good job.
Hey, Frank, let me put in here right away. I want to thank for this Be There mask, Kent Sherman's daughter, Nadia, and his wife as well. Nadia is in med school, and Mrs. Sherman is a nurse. So I want to thank him for the Be There mask. Whew, is it hot?
Looking good.
But if you guys don't mind, I don't know why I'm so interested in this. I was just curious, Keith and Dave, when you guys worked together, the Giz, you used to do all the handicapping picks and had your little show. Dave, you were in a couple different roles then. I mean, that was when you were on the rocket ship to stardom. You've kind of plateaued, but
It was like Apollo 15 or whatever, I think. Which one of them blew up?
Yeah, something like that. Yes,
Yeah.
But I'm just curious. I mean, Keith, you kind of did your own thing, but you guys cross paths daily on certain things. Can you guys talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so when I was first brought into Northfield, I was kind of a part-timer, mostly during the summers. And Dave at the time was a publicity director. He was working on the front side and wasn't doing racing. Greg Keidel was our director of racing at the time. And I was brought in to help do some special events promo, for the big races and so on and so forth. And as Dave kept getting kicked upstairs, I kept getting additional responsibilities. I didn't get raises, but I got additional responsibilities. So that by the time I left Northfield, my business card was actually 2 inches by 7 inches long. I was the webmaster. I was the publicity director. I was the club director. So, yeah, I had a lot of roles. Bianconi was just, executive vice president of racing. Fits real nice on a regular sized business card.
I mean, Keith, he had the looks.
Well, he did. And he certainly had the hair as compared to me, because I didn't have any back then either.
Had being the the big word there is had, right?
But seriously, but Steve, to be totally honest, and Dave and I have been kidding about this for years and years. in order for a track to succeed, it's got to be a team effort. So, when Dave needed me to jump in and do something, I did it. When I was overwhelmed with something and I needed him to do, even though it was, quote, below his pay grade, he jumped in and helped me out too. And I think that's, well, once or twice did I remember.
Right.
I mean, nothing,
But seriously,
nothing's below your pay grade when you work at a track like this. It only has X number of employees. I've done it all, and so was Dick when you were there. You did whatever.
I still remember one of my favorite quotes from Dave Bianconi. This would have been late 90s, maybe the early aughts, when other tracks were chasing him, and he stayed at Northfield. He said, this is my town, this is where I want to be. And he said, and frankly, I don't want to be in charge of the toilet paper in the men's room.
Yeah. One thing you guys haven't mentioned is Dave Bianconi also announces a few races, and I've started about 35 people into the announcing field, and I take the credit for getting Dave Bianconi started. It was at the Sabra Farms at a matinee, I'd hate to say how many years ago, and I got him started announcing races that day, and now he's a fill-in at Northfield occasionally.
And that is sort of,
it
was never
below his pay grade.
It was like, again, it was never my dream to do. In fact, I think Gabe one night was supposed to come up from the Red Mile, Gabe Pruitt, and it was snowing to beat the band, wasn't going to make it. And it was like either I was going to announce or it was going to be like Keeneland where they had no announcer for years. So I did it. It wasn't pretty. And even now, I just try to keep it to the basics. Roger did teach me the right way to order of operation. I try to keep it simple. And I think MGM and Northfield like when I announce because the price is right. That'd be big O. So, get what you pay for. But, it's not so bad.
Let's take a look at race number 6 coming up here. Roger, take it away.
Field of 9, 1 through 8 on the gate. 9 is a trailer from that second tier. Pacers, non-winners of $2,750 in the last 4 starts that are non-winners $20,000 in 2020. Win, place, show, exacta try, 20-cent superfecta wagering. In this race, down in class, the 1, Colt Power, the 2, Veneer Hanover, the 4, Beta Hook, the 7, You Better, You Bet, the 8, the Thunder Rolls, and the 9, hashtag swag. I'm going to go 1, 2, 9, 3. I like Colt Power. Here's one from the powerful Burke stable with Chris Page in the sulky. 1, 2, 9, 3.
Well, it looks like I'm the contrarian here. Everybody's got the 1 on top of this ticket. I love the 9 horse here. Hashtag swag. This horse is getting class relief and coming off a decent qualifier. I thought the qualifier was very, very solid. And I just like he's going to get a good trip behind the choice. I think this horse is well poised to get a win against these. Show some success against Better. Also on the ticket here, Beta Hook. Has had some bad racing luck with bad post draws. Got a little bit tired in his last start before the break. For third, I went to the 2, just hoping to get value because I think the 1's going to be over bet. And I did finish up my superfecta ticket with the 1.
Steve?
Well, I think if you're just going by class, I think Keith is spot on. I mean, this is an open horse. Keith Cash trains. It's a class horse.
Well, thank you.
I mean, the horse made almost 100,000 last year, and we're talking about maybe over betting the 1 horse that's coming off racing in a 10 claimer. I think a lot of us look at that qualifier at Northfield as a very solid qualifier, very stout last quarter, 28-2. I like the post position, but I will tell you, after listening to Keith talk, and with Keith Cash Jr. driving this horse, he should get an excellent trip. He got beat by Carolina Beach, which is in the open here later tonight, I believe, Berkery's horse. If there's any value with this 9, somebody better gobble it up. I had a 1-9-2-5, and looking at what Keith picked, I would almost be inclined to switch it to a 9-1-2-5.
Well, right now on the board, you got 3 of them at 5-2. You got the 2, the 4, and the 9. So people listening to what Keith had to say, I like the 1 horse in it. The combination of Burke and Chris Page. I don't think you can go wrong with that. But I also have, I like the 2 and the 9 in there, and hopefully one of us hits with the 1. We got 3 of us on the 1 and 1 on the 9 as we get set to go with this one. And Roger, with that, if you wouldn't mind thanking a couple of people again. We appreciate all the help we're getting to make these things possible.
Hagemeyer Farms, boarding, breeding, and foaling, Break the Bank K, Western Terra, Nob Hill High, currently standing at Hagemeyer Farms. Tonight's presentation is also sponsored by Equine Equipment, offering discounts for the horse world on New Holland agriculture and construction equipment, mowers, and more from industry leaders Toro and Exmark, as well as the Ohio-based Farm Paint and Tenda horse products.
Frank, if you don't mind, I'll add a little to that. Scott Hagemeyer is a board member on the OHHA, and one of his studs that's really up and coming is a Nob Hill High, which is a McCardle. McCardle's kind of backed off a little bit, is still up at Hickory Lane, but they're kind of protecting him with a few homebreds because of his age. But Nob Hill High, if you look at his results, Scott has done an excellent job matching him up, and his results have been pretty impressive, a pretty good value. And the last I talked to Scott, he's going to have a pretty full book this year down at Hagemeyer Farm. So really a small generational farm there, and Scott's got a lot to be proud of with some very nice stallions at Hagemeyer Farms.
We lost Keith, but I think we're getting Keith back here. Keith ended up there. He is. He's back now. Glad to have you back, Keith.
Sorry about that. I do not have the highest tech equipment, and my printer goes out of alignment about halfway through a full race card. So I got to double check the names of some of these horses as we go forward. And as I mentioned, I tried to boot up my second computer, and it was having no part of that today. So I've got the race pages up on this machine, and every once in a while I got to kick over there. So, it's good to give people a rest from seeing my face on the air anyway.
They've kind of settled in here on the 2. Veneer Hanover at 2-1. Going up to 5-2 is the 9 #swag. 3-1 on the 4 Beta Hook, and the 1 Colt Power is at 4-1. Everybody else double-digit long shots here in race 6. By the way, in that last race, they wagered $117,000. We're at the 602 plateau. 602,000 after 5.
When's the big guarantee start, Mr. Bianconi?
The 7th is a pick 4. We just left it at 10,000, but it's going to be a heck of a lot more than that in the pick 4 without question. The 11th is
40. You've got a 40,000 tonight.
Hang on, I got technical difficulty here. I got to take care of real fast. 40,000 is in the 13th.
13th, okay.
All right. Well, Dave's got a technical problem. Leave us for a few minutes, but we'll have everybody else sticking around here. Also going to have Derek Gibner join us a little later tonight around the open race, which is the number 10 race tonight, which, you talked about. There's some heavy hitters in that one coming up. So, stick around for that race because that's going to definitely be a fun one to do. Hey, Keith, how much stock do you put into the qualifiers, and do you go and watch them? We've been carrying them live. We're going to have them Thursday from Delaware again live on our Facebook page. Do you go there and watch them, or do you just look at the lines?
I used to watch qualifiers religiously, and this is going back to when I was in high school. I started watching qualifiers, and I learned an awful lot, and it became a habit, and I watch qualifiers religiously. I don't play as much as I used to. I've got other things going on in my life. Not that I don't still love harness racing, as you guys know, but for folks who might be on the air who don't know, I run a nonprofit, and I'm busy doing that, so I can't always get away to watch the races anymore. And so or the qualifiers. The fact that they're being broadcast, I think, is absolutely fabulous. I think it's a great thing that Ohio is doing. I would love to see every track do it. We've come a long way from the days that Northfield didn't even offer its live signal, let alone its qualifiers. So the fact that we're broadcasting qualifiers from Scioto and Northfield and Delaware, anybody who's serious about playing horses needs to watch. I don't have that luxury right now, but fortunately replays are available. So you can go back when you do have time and you can see them.
Yeah. The funny thing about it, when I first started what I'd consider wagering when I had some money, I was in college and down at Scioto Downs. and I hung out with a guy that was about 50 years older than me, and he kept every program, and he made notes after note after note on each horse. He kept the workout mile, but he only really tracked the last 3/8. He tracked that, and he would make notes, and he would go back then the next week and look and remind himself, and that he would have his program completely full of ink going into that night. And he was very religious about any little change from equipment to how the horse scored down to this, that, or the other. And we don't have nearly, that type of refined expertise anymore, because most people don't have the time, and they're not going to take the time to put that much into it. Quite frankly, anymore, guys warming up horses, if they warm up more than 3 laps, that's it. A lot of guys aren't turning horses like they used to, Keith. You remember guys, I mean, Roger, definitely. You remember guys were turning horses and they were brushing them a good last quarter, and sometimes they'd bring them out 2 different trips, especially young horses. Anymore, it's surprising how few guys even turn a horse anymore.
Yeah, anymore they're just getting them out there, emptying them out, and that's about the extent of it. The one thing I will say, the program today provides so much information compared to where it was. I still remember going to my first jug, and all you had was last 3 finishes. There was no charted lines at the jug, and this is arguably the biggest race in the sport, or one of them, and there's no charted lines. And with computers and with the technology that we have available, class relief, and Roger and I can disagree on class relief versus condition as it's written versus purse from track to track, and we have done that on occasion in the past. But bottom line is the information is there in order for you to interpret it however you choose to, and they give us a lot more information now. Just give us a little bit too much information, especially when it comes to certain equipment changes.
How much time do we have before post? I don't have the race up.
They're back in front of the stands. They have not gone to the gate as yet.
So I'm going to ask Roger a question here, Roger. Do you think for newbies we provide too much information? And I've almost thought when we know we're going to have nights of having a lot of new people, we need to have a simple program version for those newbies so they're not so intimidated. What's your thoughts, Roger?
We need a one racing program for the diehard gambler like we have now, but you also need a program for those people that maybe it's their first, second, or third time there. They get lost when they see this racing program. They get lost with it. So you need almost like the old Little Brown Jug programs that Keith's telling you about, where they finished the last start, who the driver was, maybe the conditions. Don't give them as much information, and then they feel like they can be an expert off of that reduced program information.
So TC Lane provided me 3 different versions of simpler programs, and I really like 2 of them. And I think what we need to do is when we have special events, Frank, we need to pick one of those, and we just need to buy them and provide them. And TC said he would be glad to help us, but I really think there's good information there that I think if people felt a little more comfortable, they could work their way into the regular program. And I think we just intimidate them too much, but I guess they're going to the gate, Mr. Right. Houston.
Yeah, we got 9 of them, 1 through 8 on the gate. The one horse,
you're up, Ryder.
Power and Page, is laying way off the gate. He's not even in the picture right now.
There's good information.
Here they come. The one is up on the gate now. They're off and pacing fast out of the gate. RYCROFT in grabs the early lead. Colt Power on the inside. Veneer Hanover gets away third. Hashtag Swag gets away on the inside as they race around the turn. Sporty Spook A takes a seat fifth. Racing 6 down the backside. Made a hook. Up on the outside, Colt Power takes the lead for Chris Page and opens up by 2.5. Racing second, Rycroft in. Racing third, hashtag swag. Racing fourth, Veneer Hanover and Aaron Merriman as they race around the turn. Sporty Spook A racing fifth. Betta Hook races sixth as the 3/8 off a quarter in a speedy 26-3. Straight alignment, but not for long. Coming to the halfway point. On top of the field, it's Cold Power, the leader, powering up on the outside. Here comes hashtag swag and Keith Cash Jr. now second and after the leader. Rycroft in third. Moving on the outside with cover is Veneer Hanover, now fourth. Halfway home in 55-3. Three back in the outside flow. Hunter Myers begins the chase with Sporty Spook A. Down the backside they go. Cold Power has the lead by a length and 3/4. Under wraps right now, at least. Moving three wide on the outside. Here comes Veneer Hanover and Aaron Merriman. Looked him in the eye and went right on by. Veneer Hanover with the lead. Cold Power is here second. As they race around the turn, 3/4 in 1:24. And opening up, Veneer Hanover and Aaron Merriman by 3 quick lengths. Cold Power fighting to hang on. Closing on the outside. Hunter Myers closing in third. Down the stretch, it's all Veneer Hanover. A late surge by one is the lonely number to be second in 1:53.
Well,
There we go with that one, and that was the two with the win there, and nobody had the two. The closest, Roger and I both had the two to place. Keith and Steve both had the two to show. None of us had it to win, though.
you know, that horse only had 11 starts last year. I mean, in the qualifier, got beat by Major Nemesis, which is a major nemesis. What a stout horse it is. But this horse must have had some soundness issues last year. Only had one win, 11 starts. It did win at Northfield in 53 and a piece. But the Billy Rhodes stable, I think they're a little bit sharp. And that horse was really sharp.
A new lifetime mark.
Isn't Veneer Hanover the horse that Dave Brickle had as a 2-year-old, if I remember correctly, from the Meadows? And then he went to the Burke stable.
And you might be
right.
Order finishes 2, 6, 5, 4, 2, 6, 5, and 4 as Frank and I'll take an exacta box. We had 1, 2 picked, and they finished. No, it's a 6. No, nobody had the 6, did we? No.
No, I don't think any of us were on the 6 at all at 50-1.
That's right. Veneer Hanover is owned by Craig Stein of Northfield, Ohio. Bill Rhodes trains. Aaron Merriman, the winning driver. 5-year-old gelding, but well said out of the valedictorian. Home a winner in 1:53. And guess what? That is a lifetime mark for Veneer Hanover. What's that, 3 straight for Aaron Merriman? Yeah, he won the 4th, the 5th, now the 6th. So Merriman's on a roll tonight, as he has been a lot of times at Northfield, and the most potent trainer-driver combination all of last year and this year as well, Bill Rhodes and Aaron Merriman.
You know, that horse has 69 lifetime starts now, and that horse has won 26 and been second 10 times. More than half his starts, he's first or second.
Here's the payoffs. Veneer Hanover paid $880, $423.60. One is a lonely number, $32.80, $15. Rycroft in $880. The exacta $367.40. The try $2,606, and I missed the other 2 payoffs.
All right, before we go on, Roger, I want to thank a couple of the people who have been helping us out to make this all possible. You know, tonight's presentation is sponsored by Centera Co-op and Purina Animal Nutrition, continuing their partnership to help Ohio horsemen and horsewomen with innovative feeding solutions for your horses. Have a question on what to feed your horse? Expert horse nutrition and care available from Kathy Green, the Centera Equine Specialist. By Cool Wind Farm in Lima, Ohio, a full-service standard bred facility standing 7 of the Buckeye State's most popular stallions, including Dancing Yankee, Rockin' Amadeus, Lucky Chucky, and Coraggioso, and also by Kim Hill Real Estate. Standardbred owners Kim and Randy Hill are thrilled to be supporting our industry. Offices in Dayton and Portsmouth. In Dayton, call 937-344-8559. And we'll
Dave
get,
Bianconi, I missed the handle in the 6th race. What'd they wager in the 6th? Oh, he's on the phone.
134.
Thank you, sir.
No.
That gives us a total of 736 through 6. 736.
Yeah. Dave's calling in a truck to carry the money away, it looks like. But, Keith,
let's take a look at race number 7 as
we'll talk about race 7, but Keith, it's pretty remarkable, the market that, believe it or not, I got the Wiz trying to call me right now. We need the Wiz to bet into this. If Bianconi hears me, the Wiz is wanting to call me. We just want the Wiz's money to bet on Northfield. But Dave, I was mentioning to Keith, it's pretty remarkable, the simulcast market that Northfield Park has developed, and it isn't just one person. You were a big part of it, but it's been a consistency. You've called it the meat grinder. I just call it a consistent, viable product that's there 200 plus days a year. And gamblers that like to gamble on standardbreds know that 2/3 of the time Northfield Park is running and they're able to wager on it. And it didn't matter, Keith, back in the day when you were making picks and we were racing for 1,600, or like tonight when we're racing for 13,000, we could handle some money.
The track has always put together full fields, that dependable product, that 200 plus 220 nights a week of racing, obviously, but very rare for you not to see at least 8 and 9 horse fields at this racetrack. There were times, certain times of year and so on, or certain races perhaps, but one thing that Greg and then Dave have always done, they've always found ways to fill fields. And the bottom line is full fields generate handle, whether we're racing for 2,000 or 20,000.
So part of how you fill fields is being willing to have horses on your backstretch. And when you have horses on the backstretch, sometimes you need people back there working on them. Northfield Park still has a dormitory. They've got a community within a community back there. And I commend those guys for not going the path of least resistance, in which that means all ship-in facility. And whether it was Brock Milstein or now MGM, they've stayed loyal to the fact that they want to race 200 days a year. They need people stabled there, and they've got 2 tracks to jog and train on. And just like it was when you were there, Keith.
Yeah, and that's true. And Dave just left, and I was going to ask him a question, but we'll get to it before the night's over. But, it's to me, and I'm glad we've got these new facilities in Ohio, but it's a real shame that we don't have the backstretch. When I started racing horses in the late 70s, I was a young kid. I was literally just out of high school. And I learned so much from being stabled next to Lou Williams, being stabled next to Chucky Williams. Learning, Don McCurgan, who was, I think, only in his 60s back in 1970. McCurgan, I had a trotter. I couldn't get around the racetrack. And McCurgan, who didn't know me from Adam, I was just some punk kid. And I said, Mr. McCurgan, could you watch me train this horse? Tell me if you see anything. I went a mile with him. He said, let me go the second trip with him. He went the second trip. He said, do this, the other thing. We got the horse qualified the next week. He was never a world beater, but he was a racehorse. And people, I don't know that when everybody's separated, a dozen guys at a training center here and 15 here and 6 here and some at this fairground and some at that fairground, I don't think you get that camaraderie. You don't have, when a guy's maybe a little bit down on his luck and needs some help, there's guys out there who will take care of him very quietly. And the community and camaraderie of horsemen is something that continues to amaze me to this day. It's very, very remarkable, and I think we lose that when we don't have backstretches. I'll get off my soapbox now.
Well, Dave's not going to talk about it, but they had horsemen taking care of each other. If Amy was on here tonight, she wouldn't name names, but I can tell you there were guys helping each other on the backstretch at Northfield Park, without doubt.
Look,
Yeah,
look,
and
go ahead, Deb. I'm sorry.
and you sort of touched on it. I mean, ultra competitive back here. I mean, especially back when we were racing for no money. I mean, it was dog eat dog. But when push comes to shove, like you said, it's a community, and they're willing to come together and help each other out.
And I think having the strong leadership in Columbus with the Horsemen's Association, a great extent.
This is a big race, handle-wise too, because it has our first guaranteed pool of the night, which is the guaranteed $10,000 pick four, and it starts here in the 7th race. We have a scratch, the 7 horse, Marvelous Artist. The 7 Marvelous Artist has been scratched. Pick 4, races 7, 8, 9, and 10. Win, place, show, exacta, trifecta. Non-winners 4,000. Last 4. I'm going to go 5, 6, 1, 7. I like Lancaster Park and Keith Cash Jr. 5, 6, 1, 7.
This was my pick of the night, and it's a sentimental pick, but this horse was in my barn for a while. I didn't train it, but Fancy Creek Elusive is one of the classiest horses you'll ever sit behind or ever watch. This horse has got a lot of bumps and bruises and bangs, and he's earned somewhere over $700,000 the hard way. Class horse. Jeff Hollis trains it now. Ray Farmer used to train it. Several other people have trained it. He is a class horse. He'll give you everything he's got every step of the mile. I think he's the best bet of the night. Hopefully he'll give a little bit of value. I see Frank picked him as well.
And he's got Aaron Merriman.
Pretty similar, except our 3rd and 4th place.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
and I'm going the other way. I'm going to Lancaster Park to win this off the qualifier. This is a horse who, if I was making a normal pick 4 play, and these horses have been racing all along, I would give serious consideration to singling him. And this is when Dave talks about hitting that $10,000 guarantee. I just don't know how, with the current racing situation, these horses coming off these layoffs, you can't take a chance on singling anything. And I think that's really going to drive pool. Dave, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor.
Yes.
Make sure that we get not the total handle. I mean, not the total handle on the race. I want to know what they bet into. When I was trying to structure a ticket, the best I could do was like a 3x2 by 2x3 ticket. I couldn't cut it back any further than that.
Well, I have to credit the race secretary, Keith. No, I'm just kidding. I had a really good group of horses to put together here on opening night. And as you mentioned, it's tough to handicap. They're all coming off a 2-month layoff. And I will get the pick 4. We were kind of in a rush. We just left it as a 10,000 guarantee, but I guarantee you this pool's going to be a heck of a lot more than 10,000.
Yeah, I've got a number in my mind, and I've written it down. But let's just see how close we come.
All right, gentlemen. Quick question.
Now I've written it down. I don't want to lie. Now I wrote it down. I hadn't actually written it down before.
I can tell you right now, we're still at 4 minutes to post, and you may have noticed we don't go off right exactly at post time.
I've noticed that every once in a while you do delay by a minute or two.
We're already at 8,300, so it's going to be a heck of a lot more than 10,000. Yeah.
Roger just went to get carry out. He knows he's got time. What'd you say, Frank?
You made a point earlier about the programs. I said you made a point a little earlier about the programs being complicated for the new bettor who might be in there, and hopefully we've got some people who stumbled upon us, and they're not just bettors and gamblers that are just here because they love horses, they love the race, and don't know as much as the next person does. Dave, talk about what the guarantee means in a race like this.
I got to give the credit to a guy named Chris Schick from Cal Expo, really one of my mentors in this simulcast game. He came up with this idea of, let's guarantee these pools for harness racing. And he was the father of what's called strategic wagering that the USTA does. And then I'm on the board now. And, the USTA helps with these guarantees, and the OHHA does too. If we miss, they kick in, but we very, very rarely miss. It's quite a bargain for the OHHA. I think Steve spends more on Busch Light in a year than they have to kick in on this. But just putting that carrot out there with the guarantee really drives wagering, especially like coming up on our 13th race when we have that carryover of 8,000 and we guaranteed 40 in that pool. I think that pool will be much larger with that carryover as well coming up in the 13th Super High 5.
Hey, speaking of those simpler programs, Steve, could you do me a favor? I'm curious. Could you send me copies of those when you get a chance?
Yes, I've got.
I'd be very curious.
Yeah, I mean, TC Lane, I'll give him credit. One of the nights, Roger and I, Frank, did a program, and we got on this topic. And Roger and I and Frank have discussed this. When we have a guest in and you try to explain the complexity to our program, which is good information, TC was listening. He goes, Steve, do you know we've got several versions that tracks could utilize or you guys could do? And he sent them to me. And I was like, wow. A lot of people would enjoy this. So we're going to utilize TC. We're going to utilize them. And when Frank organizes one of these functions with these sponsors where we bring in guests either to Northfield or El Dorado, we're going to buy some of these, whether it's 20 or 30 or 40. And that's going to be our introduction into trying to acknowledge what's on the racetrack, as opposed to explaining a half an hour how to read a charted line.
I'll say two things about that. When I was at Northfield, one of my jobs was to run handicapping seminars for the groups.
Yes.
And for the group sales department. And you could see people's eyes glazing over. I mean, and it wasn't because my presentation was poor. My presentation was brilliant. It was witty. It was clever. But it's some dry material. And I had a chance. I had the opportunity to at the Jug this year be one of the hosts in Speaker Householder's tent.
Yes.
And the lack of understanding, and not that the people didn't want to learn, but the lack of understanding of how to read the program was, I won't say that it was appalling to me, but it was disappointing. And I think maybe having those easier programs for folks like that would be helpful too. The other thing you have to remember is we have an aging audience. You know, I had cataract surgery this past year. And it's harder for me to read the program with all this information in it. I'm not saying we need the large format, thing that'll be 17 by 22 or something like that. But for me, some of the stuff could be left out, and it would make it a little bit easier. Just curious, Steve, what are you drinking?
You picked up on that, Mister. Not tonight. For this special occasion, I have a little bit of Maker's 46, along with ice water.
I've got my OHHA coffee mug, but it's Elijah Craig. So,
yeah, it was a long day today, a very long day. Hey, well, what's Roger got?
What's Roger drinking?
Olive Garden tea. Olive Garden tea.
Water. I've got water as well, but I needed to take the edge off of being Coney, so I had to have a little bit of Maker's on ice.
Drives me to drink too.
Right.
Hey, Keith, I'm going to mention something that you brought up about the program. I took my daughter just graduated from John Carroll. I took her and three of her girlfriends to the track up there, and because they had never been there. We went to the backside. They met some horses. We went around. Stood at the finish line, took them in. We got something to eat. I showed them the program. And my daughter's reaction was, oh, my God, that's small. I can't read it. Mm-hmm. Now, this is a 22-year-old. And I even said to her, I said, how do you think those guys sitting over there feel? And there were, a bunch of 60-year-olds, and I'm almost 60. And, that's a great point that you bring up, that there's so much there, it's hard to read.
I wear my glasses, but I was a fill-in announcer at Northfield as well, just like Bianconi was. When one of the announcers couldn't make it or whatever else. And I'll tell you what, especially when it gets dark in that booth, during the daylight hours, it was fine. But you get to the 12th or 13th race, and even though you've studied that program, you've put several hours into it, it is difficult to read. And you don't want to make a mistake in misreading that program. I think that's really critical.
Yeah.
If a simplified program is the answer, or if something else is, but I don't think we can go fewer than 6 lines. I think we have to go at least 6 lines. There's no doubt about that. Obviously, if we went 4 lines, we could go big or tight, but I don't think that helps the gambler at all. So I don't know what the answer is, but it is something perhaps that should be looked at.
Well, I think there are some gamblers that basically play numbers or some really simplistic things when they go to the track. And I think you could provide that. I think a lot of fairs that don't have much of a pari-mutuel handle, they'll go with a simplistic approach, and it works just fine. I think we've gotten ourselves a little complex that more information is always better, but I don't know that for the newbies that come out that we might get to come to Northfield 3 times a summer. It probably would be advantageous to have something a little more simplistic. And really what we should do, probably put like a $2 voucher in every one of those suckers and just not tell them until they buy it.
Yeah, I've always said that. And again, having gone to the fairs the last couple of years representing OHHA, you get a lot of very casual folks who are there because they've got a friend who has horse racing, or they happen to be walking by and they just want to get out of the sun for a few minutes. If we can get them to bet $5 or $10 and make it easy for them, it's very difficult to even find a program at a county fair. We've offered to sell the programs for the fair people, because they show up 10 minutes before the races start, and then they disappear 10 minutes after the races start, and people can't always get their programs. And that's an issue as well. So, there's a lot of things that I think we can do better. The one thing that I do like is that we are clearly looking at those things and attempting to do them better as we go forward.
Well, I'm looking at them. TC Lane's aware of it. With Roger and Frank doing our marketing and promotion, what we're going to do is as good as we can when we have new clients come and our brand ambassadors talking to them about harness racing and Frank's organizing these marketing groups. We're going to have something in front of them that's easy to explain, that they can say, I like this horse because it came from Greenwood, or it came from Xenia, and the driver is 42 and my son's 42 and the driver's colors are orange and white. And you don't probably need to know that the last 3 quarters, the horse lost 2 lengths and paced a 28-second third quarter. It doesn't mean anything to them, but it might mean something to them.
Point of reference.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's a whole nother line of inquiry we could get into, but it would get very long and drawn out regarding eliminations same day or week before races, and whether the benefit of that is to drawing the casual fan.
Hey,
That's
Dave,
for another time.
So I got a text wondering why we're not on TVG tonight, and my response was, our market is established with Northfield, and TVG didn't approach us, nor did Northfield Park approach TVG tonight. Do you have any commentary on that?
Yeah, it's very expensive to be on TVG, and we do quite well without TVG, to be perfectly frank. So, our signal can be found. Yeah, our signal can be found live on the internet every night for free on our website. So,
and as opposed to paying the higher percentages.
Right. As opposed to paying TVG. Yeah.
People don't understand that the hosting organization gets a piece of everything that's bet. Even though they're your races, they're keeping a portion of that money.
Well, a portion. The vast majority.
Yeah, a huge portion of that money. And that an organization like TVG is taking even more than a lot of other organizations would be.
Right. If we race, year-round, 200 and some cards a year, can you imagine if we were on there every night, how much our bill would be for TVG? Yeah. In 2018, we were the #1 harness handle track in the U.S. In 2019, we were second, just behind the Meadowlands. I can't say that we should be spending money like that. I think we're doing fine without it, to be perfectly honest.
All right, we're getting ready for race number 7. They're getting behind the gate.
All right.
Roger Houston with the call.
3-2 favorite as they go to the gate. The 5-horse of Lancaster Park and Keith Cash Jr. 3 acting up a bit. Fancy Creek Elusive settled down by Merriman and back to the gate. 1 a little rough gated. Pacers are all in behind the gate.
The video's a little rough gated too.
He swings into the stretch hand. Here they come. off and pacing. Chocolate Crackers for the lead. Fancy Creek Elusive racing up on the outside second. Static Camber in between horses third. A Farm Boy's Success racing fourth. Off stride, Fancy Creek Elusive. On the backside, going to the first quarter mark. It's Chocolate Crackers with the lead. George's View now second at the pylons as they race over to the first quarter mark. Racing third into the turn, Static Camber racing fourth. That's Lancaster Park. Opening panel 27-4. Lancaster Park is on the move on the outside for Keith Cash Jr. Now third, now second. After the leader, Chocolate Crackers. Into the lane first time, coming to the halfway point. Chocolate Crackers up on the outside. Lancaster Park is here second, racing third. That's Gorgeous View. Into the turn fourth, Static Camber. Fifth and back on the outside is Fancy Creek Elusive, trying to get back into the half. One over to the half, 57-1. On to the backside they go. On top of the field, Chocolate Crackers continues to lead. Down the backside, up on the outside, Lancaster Park sticks the nose in front, racing third. That's Gorgeous View, and out comes Kurt Sugg to begin the chase. As they race into the turn, we got a new leader, Lancaster Park. Chocolate Crackers is there second, Gorgeous View third. Getting into it now is Beauty Desires and Ronnie Wren Jr. In between horses. 3/4, 124-4. Less than an 8 to go. It's Lancaster Park bringing them into the stretch. Closing on the outside with every stride. Coming on, it's Gorgeous View. Lancaster Park hanging on. Chocolate Crackers, it's Keith Cash Jr. Lancaster Park. Looked like Chocolate Crackers was second. The mile, 154-3. Here's a photo for that place position.
Uh, 5-1, Roger, 5-1.
I know it's 5. I think the 1 came back here to be second. Then it's 9. Gorgeous View was third. So I'm sure it's a 5-1-9.
So Keith and Roger both had that. I think you both had 5-1, didn't you?
I had the 1 to be third. Keith has the 1 to be fourth.
Okay.
$186,000.
How much?
186,000.
All right.
40,000 in the pick four.
40 on the pick four. I said
Yep.
35. So, all right.
Man,
922,000 now. 922. Actually, it's above 922. We're just counting the first 3 numbers. So the winner at Lancaster Park, Eldemir Stable of Hudson, Ohio, and James Ryan, Warren, Ohio. Keith Cash Jr. trains and drives. 8-year-old gelding, Art Colony of St. Ann Hall. Home a winner here in race number 7. Lancaster Park and Keith Cash Jr.
I can't tell you the exact date, but this horse was claimed, I don't know, at least a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago for, I believe, $20,000. I know the stable it came from, and they've done very well with it. Josh has managed this horse well. Last year, 39 starts, 11 wins, made $83,000. Tonight was its 3rd win of the year. Really a class, tough horse. Lancaster Park is one of those horses that probably on the right night can compete with the opens, but he'd like to be a step below that. Roger's got the prices.
$460, $280, $260. Chocolate Crackers, $484. Gorgeous View, $720. Exacta, $20. The Try, $519. $140.40. The Pick 3, $36.50.
I'm back. Sorry about that, folks. My computer lost the internet. Who won?
Lancaster Park.
5.
All right. Let's see who do we have in there. Let's see, 5. Roger and Keith with our winners.
Yes. Came in.
Just one other thing. I'm sorry. One other thing to mention about Lancaster Park. This horse, as tough as he's been, was not racing well prior to the break. 4 or 5 bad starts in a row. This is a horse that I think really benefited from the time off. And you don't always say that when it's a mandatory layoff like that, but I think this horse really did benefit from it.
It appears, yes.
And had a pretty decent qualifier to boot.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Josh is stabled right there on the grounds. So, this horse was right there, didn't have to be shipped in. And, he had him ready to go tonight. He was ready to go in the qualifier last quarter in 28-1 in a qualifier. And he made a pretty nice move tonight. He was stout. Fancy Creek elusive. Maybe the time off didn't do him any good. He made a break, came back and tried to get into the fight, but the break cost him too much.
Was Fancy Creek, when you had the horse and stuff, did the horse have trouble at the starting gate occasionally?
Occasionally, but I mean, when Ray Farmer had the horse, Aaron Merriman drove it, Ronnie Wren drove it, and he was a gutsy horse. If the horse got any type of trip just on guts alone, he would get there. And, he was a horse, when he came into the barn, you could just see that was a horse that was classy. I mean, I don't know how to describe it. I mean, a horse is a horse, but I mean, this horse was a class horse, and you could tell
when you see it.
The day after he raced, Roger, he would struggle, but he did what you needed. But come race day, he knew it was race day, and he put on a game effort. He was just a tough, classy horse. That's all I can say.
Tonight, going to the gate, he looked a little rough, because twice he was kind of foul gated real quick and settled down at the start, but he just didn't look right going to the gate.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I mean, a 10-year-old with 229 lifetime starts, that kind of tells you all you need to know right there. I mean, for a standardbred to have 229 starts, and this horse at 10 years old on February 24th was still racing in the Open at Northfield Park.
8th race coming up. Pacers, non-winners, 7,100 in the last 4. Also eligible horses that have started for a claiming price of $20,000 or less in their last start. Win, place, show, exacta try, 20-cent super. Pick 3 on 8, 9, and 10. Very little class change in this race. The 3, O'Grady's First Man, is up in class. The 5, Mighty Breeze, is down in class. Field of 9, 1 through 8 on the gate, 9 a trailer in the second tier. I'm going to go with the 4, Little Admiral, Aaron Merriman. It's hard to overlook any horse that Merriman drives at Northfield. And here's that combination again, Aaron Merriman and Bill Rhodes. Little Admiral, a 4-year-old gelding, but Captain Treacher's a Moonlit Dragon. My choice, 4-1-9-5.
Well, I'm going to go 5-4-2-1. A couple of interesting things here. Looks to me like Mr. Bianconi opened this class up slightly to let the 2 and the 3 into the race. And then the 4, Little Admiral, gets in as the also eligible condition. So you've got some interesting things at work. But Little Admiral, granted, it was a couple months ago, but talk about a horse in super consistent form against similar quality horses. I think he fits very, very well against these. But I'm going to Mighty Breeze to get the win off the qualifier and off the class relief. For third to 2, major action, like I said, he gets in because they open up the class, or at least they appear to open up the class. I'm sure Dave will correct me if I'm wrong. And to finish up the super, I'm going to go to the 1, Royal Regatta, another one of those horses who gets in under 20,000, who's racing real sharp at the break. Might have been a tad qualifier, but if you take a look, he was fronted at the 3/4, came back to get the lead, and then tired again. So that's a good sign. Certainly a very positive qualifying line for him.
Steve?
I like the 5-1-9-4. That Mighty Breeze qualifier was pretty impressive. Mr. Loney trains right there at Northfield Park. I kind of assumed, just like Billy Rhodes, everything was going to be ready to go when we opened up. I find that that horse looks pretty solid in that particular position. Tony Hall driving. I will say, if you look at the class of this race, and I was trying to add it up here, how much money these 9 horses made in 2019, it's really a remarkably balanced field. Even some of the longer horses on the board, if you take a look at the 7 horse, that 7 horse last year, Hard Cold Cash made $46,000 and hit the board more than half the times it started. So it's a pretty darn compact competitive field. I had 5194.
They won last year in excess of $430,000 for the field of 9.
That's a good group. This is a tough race for, a couple slots below the open. There's some good horses in here.
I mean, go ahead, Roger.
With the first start back and all the qualifiers, made pretty easy if you could put them all right together, because you didn't have any trouble filling the box, did you? And you probably won't have any trouble for a week or so.
Roger, you're right.
He had to call for horses.
I did have to call for horses the last couple of days. Now I found them, but I guess some guys weren't quite ready. Some guys wanted to qualify a second time. I do have a lot of young horses right now. I don't have a lot of condition type and claiming type horses, as many as I expected. So I'm sure in the coming weeks, though, if other tracks don't open, it's going to be a lot tougher to get in.
Well, the ones that wanted a second qualifier, were they disappointed in the initial qualifier, you think?
Well, some needed one because they broke. Others, I think, wanted to get a little tighter before they raced in an actual race.
Yeah, because I think Scioto, at least, they had qualifiers Saturday before the races. They only had 4 qualifying races on that Saturday after the initial group of qualifiers.
They had some help. Scioto had some help. They had Delaware and Lebanon qualify.
Right.
I'm up here on an island by myself. Wish we could have fired up Paynesville or something. But my qualifying box is just, buried with horses.
Dave, talk about the starter allowance races. And you mentioned this when you were on with Frank and I on Facebook Live, the rationale why we did starter allowances as opposed to jumping right into claimers, and your thoughts on how those progress as you draw races over the next few weeks.
I'm going to do it, as I mentioned, for a couple of weeks. I know the OHHA, and I get it. A lot of guys fed these horses for the last 2 months, and, they kept eating and needing vet work the whole pandemic. So it's not like they were making any money. They wanted guys to be able to race them a couple of starts before they had to put them in a claiming slot and have a chance to lose them. So it's worked out decently in the lower classes. And we haven't had any claims tonight, and even other races where there were claimers. So, there's nothing wrong with sort of pulling down the claiming a little bit for the first couple of weeks back.
I think those owners that stuck in there with their trainers appreciate it, Dave. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, the least we could do. It's a tough situation for everybody, and it's going to be a tough rest of the year. Let's just hope the numbers are good, in Ohio and other states, and we can get, back to some sort of normalcy.
Did you have to readjust your purse allotment and things like that coming back?
It's going to be a fluid situation. Steve and I talk about it all the time, and it, so much depends upon when we can have fans back in the stands and when, MGM Casino can open as well. I mean, that is big.
Roger, we're fortunate at Northfield Park. We've got a decent horseman's purse account, and we're also very fortunate, Roger, that we've got a good simulcast network that we're going to be able to hopefully pull in a little bit to help that purse account tonight and the future nights. And I think we're well positioned to be able to go for a little while without the casino. I'm hoping the casino comes back up sometime June 1st. That'd be great.
Do you have a guess, Dave, or what's your feeling about when the casino will open and fans will be permitted?
I hate to even speculate. I think it'll be June, but I don't know, which of the 30 days in June it'll be, but I'm very optimistic it'll be in June for both.
I did a podcast this morning with Joe at Scioto, and he said that he was hoping at least by maybe the 15th, but he says sometime in June as well. So that's kind of the.
I hope you guys are right.
Roger, what did Joe have to say about doing 3.3 million for the first 3 nights? I mean, that was pretty impressive. Even though we didn't have a lot of competition, I have to say that was really impressive. 3.3 million over 3 nights.
You know what? I think what surprised him more than anything is the handle continued to grow from Friday to Saturday to Monday. Each day was a little higher handle, and he was happy with it. He says now the big problem is to get, when other tracks start to open, to kind of hold. He doesn't expect to do $1 million a day or anything like it when other tracks start, but to try and be above last year's figures and such. And he has a great attitude in his new job there as vice president of racing, and he was just very, very, very positive.
I got to say I'm very impressed as well with what he and Gabe did that first weekend, and Jason Roth, everybody down there.
Question for you.
Go ahead, Frank.
Hey, Roger, got a question for you. Somebody just popped in with a question and wanted to ask, when was the first year that you started your rule to the fans and bettors about betting a horse that was parked out the whole mile last time?
Good.
And explain a little bit about that.
Who are you asking that?
To you. When was they asked you? When was the first year you started Roger's rule to the fans and bettors about betting a horse parked out the whole time?
Does anybody remember Al Stanley?
Yeah.
I remember that book. Yes.
Yeah. Well, when he came out with that book, he was a co-host one night on my TV show, and we got to talking. And after he left and went back to Texas and everything, I decided to develop Roger's laws, and that was actually one of Al Stanley's original thoughts, that a horse that was hung every step of the mile couldn't have had a rougher trip. He would be legged up and such like that. And I threw in betting this week, regardless of the competition, to make it even more positive. And it usually, I would say, I'd go 75, 80% when horses get hung every step of the mile. The next time they turn in a solid performance. The one thing you're hoping is that they get a better trip. So that's one of the things I look at when I'm handicapping anyway.
Well, Roger, why don't you thank a couple of people again? We can't thank these people more enough for being part of our presentation and helping us out tonight.
Tonight's presentation is sponsored by Equine Equipment, offering discounts for the horse world on New Holland agriculture and construction equipment, mowers, and more from industry leaders Toro and Exmark, as well as Ohio-based farm paint and tender horse products. And by Hagemeyer Farms, boarding, breeding, and foaling, featuring Break the Bank K, Western Terror, and Knob Hill High, currently standing at Hagemeyer Farm. They'll be coming to the track just momentarily for this 8th race. Betting favorite right now is the 4, Little Admiral at 2-1, 5-2 on the 5, Mighty Breeze, 3-1 on the 9, Vinovio, and at 9-2, the 1, Royal Regatta. Everybody else, double-digit long shots here in the 8th.
Taking a look at our picks again, 3 of us, Keith, Steve, and myself, all on the 5, Mighty Breeze. Roger, though, liking the 4, Little Admiral, with the combination of Aaron Merriman and Bill Rhodes, which 156 wins at Northfield last year, that combination. So, always a good choice there. And coming up, we're 2 races away after this one to our Open. And Dave, talk a little bit about that Open race that you put together and give people a little bit of a preview.
Man, the Open pace is salty this first week back. Not only are Carolina Beach, Southwind, Amazon, Bully Pulpit, those 3 really have had a rivalry going the last couple of years. Of course, Southwind Amazon is just a freak show at 10 years old that he's still racing as he does. But there are a couple horses coming in from Yonkers, Louis Alberto and Attaboy Dan. Attaboy Dan's made almost $1 million in his own right. So, I mean, this turned up super salty in the first week back off the pandemic, I guess we'll call it.
Attaboy Dan was the Pennsylvania Horse of the Year last year, winning 19 of 40. Horse of the Year in Pennsylvania last year.
Man, oh man.
Yeah, Southwind Amazon's closing in on 100 career wins. That's just remarkable. I think it's about 15 horses total who have done that, 15 to 20 who have done that.
Hey, Frank, you showed the picks from the previous race. Can you put up the picks for the 9th race? We're on the 9th. I think you showed the 8th.
No, we're
in the 8th, right?
We're still on the 8th.
Yeah, we're still on the 8th race, Steve.
Yep. We had to wait for a little traffic to clear, but I think they're out on the track now.
All right.
You got me worried there. I thought I missed one. Looks like we lost Roger, though.
Well, I stepped out for a minute there. I thought I might have missed something. I mentioned, Dave, you weren't here. I'm currently fostering a Moluccan cockatoo here at the house. And
you're just reptiles and amphibians. You got a bird now.
I got a bird now, yeah. And this thing does this fire alarm call. And even though I had the door to the office closed with the windows open, I could hear it coming up through the windows. And I was hoping it wasn't coming up on the recording. So I had to go give him some food to shut him up.
Keith, if you live here in the Cleveland area, Keith's on the news more than Jim Donovan. He finds a way to get the herps alive out there. I saw you had a pet food giveaway during the pandemic, made the news. He knows how to pump the PR, Mr. Gisser does.
Yeah, well, I learned from a pretty good PR guy. What was that guy's name again? Oh, Greg Kydell. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Exactly. They are on the track here for the 8th. Very even board shaping up.
Keith, do you think you could get one of your little friends to bring them on just to show us a little bit of this coming up?
I'm not going to do that tonight, but we can do that maybe at some point in the future. I've actually been on Roger's broadcast with a large python, about a 14-foot python. The Meadows has had me at the track several times. Dayton Raceway actually had us do a program this past fall. And when I was working in Northfield, we used to do stuff in Northfield as well. So we've done. Unfortunately, this summer, the handicapping herpetologist program has pretty much gone by the wayside. We do a weekend of running aces every year. We go up to Tioga and Vernon every year. Unfortunately, right now, they don't know if they're going to be racing with fans looks like Tioga and Vernon will be racing. Aces is still hopeful. And by the way, I got to give them a plug. Just what a fun little racetrack that is. Anybody who's ever up in Minnesota, go visit them. It's a great place. Catch your own trout for dinner. Just all kinds of cool stuff that you can do. A very, very fan-friendly racetrack.
Is that Columbus, Minnesota?
Columbus, Minnesota, about a half hour north of the Twin Cities, yeah. And Steve, if you choose to go, I can point you to some pretty good distilleries that you can tour at the same time. All kinds of cool stuff that you can do.
Well,
you can also check out Points for Pork Chops in downtown Minneapolis, which is pretty good.
About a half hour north.
All right, Roger, glad to have you back. We lost you there for a few seconds.
I thought you guys had froze up, and it was actually me.
Degrees. None of us are freezing up.
You know, Keith was talking about running aces. I had the opportunity to go up there and call races last year for a weekend, and he mentioned catch your dinner at the trout pond and things like that. And they're one of the few racetracks that you can count on for anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500 people in attendance that night for the races. Just a mighty nice facility. It's out middle of almost nowhere, but boy, they sure draw in the fans.
And you know, they're almost like part of a circuit with Cal Expo. I mean, a lot of the California guys come as far, as little east as they need to. But the fun stuff about that is you've got the Minnesota and Iowa Fair Circuit as well. We talk about how great the Ohio Fair Circuit is, but What Cheer Iowa raced over the weekend at the county fairs, and they raced a 16 race card. I think the total purses were under $10,000. So you've got horsemen who are doing this just for the love of the sport.
Right.
They've got co-eligibility things where a horse who's sired in Minnesota can race in Iowa if he's foaled there. I don't remember the exact rules, but there's a lot of cooperation going on among the Iowa, Wisconsin, and Minnesota horsemen in order to keep that community vibrant. And it's kind of cool. That's certainly not on the level of what we have, but I mean, they're doing a good job to try to build the sport out there.
We've had a few Michigan horsemen that went out there and have stayed. Gene Miller is one that comes to mind. Gene Miller is a Hall of Famer type guy, and they've done well. Yes.
I refer to Gene as Mr. Santa Claus.
Yes, sir.
Gene
Don Harmon. Don Harmon was out there last year.
Do we have a Harmon driving tonight? Is that Don Harmon's daughter, Dave Bianconi, is driving at Northfield tonight?
Yes. Yep. Lauren Harmon. She's stable here.
How about that, Roger? You call out Don Harmon, and we've got his daughter driving tonight, and she's got a P license, correct?
I believe so. Yeah. She handles a horse well, though. She drives in the Billings too.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think she's 19 years old.
Hey, man. Steve, here's a great Gene Miller trivia for you. Gene has trained 3 horses. We mentioned Southwind Amazon closing in on 100 win. Gene has trained 3 horses with 100 wins in their career. Crafty Sailor, Bingham, and I forget who the third one is. It's just, granted, a lot of races at the fairs, a lot of races in amateurs, whatever, but that's a pretty remarkable stat. If I said to you, what trainer has trained 300 win horses, you'd say Jimmy Tacker, Ronnie Burke. Nope, Gene Miller.
That is, in fact, the last horse you can't name was still racing a year or two ago, and I'm trying to come up with it because it was racing.
I know it.
Yeah.
But and Gene is a great guy. When we had the HHYF camp up there, horses, he helped with them hooking up horses. When I'm up there doing my reptile program, he always comes over to say hello and just check in. I raced against him in the Billings, not with much success, but I raced against him in the Billings. And just a really, really good guy.
Going back to Don Harmon, the story I always talk about Don, he had the audacity to walk into the Meadows race office wearing a Detroit Red Wings jersey when the Detroit Red Wings were playing the Pittsburgh Penguins in the Stanley Cup.
How'd that go over, Roger?
It didn't go over too well in the race office.
And you're a proud Penguin fan, correct?
Right. Well, the wildest thing is we were allowed to wear Penguin jerseys on game days, and everybody in the race office had a Penguin jersey on, and he walks in with a Red Wings. In fact, when we asked the drivers to wear colors at Delaware, I texted Don the night before, and I said, would you wear your colors tomorrow? And he said, oh, can't I wear my Detroit Red Wings jersey? As we're turning and heading to the gate here.
All right.
Yep, starting gates in motion. 8-5 favorite. The 5, Mighty Breeze, Tony Hall for D. Brian Loney. All you guys going with the 5, Mighty Breeze. I've got the second choice in the wagering. The 4, Little Admiral at 3-1. Then we got the 1, Royal Regatta, and the 9, Benovio at 7-2.
And we're going to try to pick it up here. And for some reason, my computer is giving us a little problem, but hopefully we'll get there. We go. All right, let me get there. There we go. Roger, she's all yours.
Thank you, sir. Moving in behind the gate. Wings of the gate open. And Pacers moving up and moving in. Pacers. Here's everybody's A-OK. All 8 right on the gate. In the trailer, Vinovio in his position as well. Pacers are in behind the gate. The gate swings into the stretch, and here they come. Off and pacing, going for the lead. O'Grady's first man, and Mighty Breeze on the outside. Inside, Royal Regatta as they race around the turn. Ronnie Wren Jr. gets away with Vinovio, racing fourth. Racing fifth, taking a seat is Major Action. Sixth on the outside. That's Aaron Merriman with Little Admiral, finds a spot at the pylons. On the outside, it's Mighty Breeze and Tony Hall to the top as the field moves by the opening quarter, 27-3. Right there, second is Royal Regatta as they race into the turn. O'Grady's first man racing third. Major Action, a close-up fourth. Here comes Aaron Merriman on the move on the outside with Little Admiral. Now sixth, now fifth, and closing. First up on the outside, here comes Ronnie Wren Jr. and Vinovio with a rush. Now fourth, now third, now second. Vinovio to the top. Way home in 57. Racing second, it's Mighty Breeze. Royal Regatta is third. Left in the dust momentarily was Little Admiral on the outside fourth. Down the backside they go. Vinovio has the lead and opens up by a length and 3/4. Racing second, that's Mighty Breeze. Third is Royal Regatta. Racing fourth, that's Little Admiral on the outside, but losing ground. O'Grady's first man moves up the inside fourth at the 3/4 in 1:24. Around the final turn, Vinovio with the lead. Closing on the outside. Here comes Ryan Stahl and Royal Regatta on the outside. Tony Hall trying to hold spot with Mighty Breeze. Into the stretch, it's Vinovio. Mighty Breeze in the lightning lane. Coming on with every stride. Mighty Breeze, Vinovio, 1:53, 2/5. Mighty Breeze, Tony Hall getting the win over Vinovio, using the passing lane to perfection.
There we go. So with the number 1 there, coming on to win that, let's take a look. And it looked like Keith and Steve. Or no, that was the 9 race. Hold on. The 8th? Nope, nobody had the winner that time.
Five won.
Oh, 5 did win it? Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
5-9-1.
5-9-1. My apologies. I thought I broke up there. So, okay. Well, the 5.
I came up a big loser, and they wagered 139,000 in that one.
Right now, Mr. Bianconi's wishing he worked on commission.
Tonight I am. You're right.
Gentlemen, we just went over the $1 million mark. 1,061,000 through the first 8 races.
Hey, we got a new partner in crime here.
I think it's one of the Beastie Boys, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, he came to sing. He did, Derek.
What's
I
up,
got
Derek?
lots of songs.
Hey, Derek.
I could sing lots of songs, but I don't know if I did notice earlier today Guns N' Roses was playing, and Guns N' Roses was in the race.
And by the way, I want to add, Dave Brower is watching tonight from that supermarket in New Jersey.
Roger, he said he couldn't join us tonight because he was going to be in the supermarket. What the heck is he doing in the supermarket if he's watching us?
He evidently got his computer with him.
Yeah.
Managing. So,
I don't know that he's still watching, but he was watching earlier on.
I
Here's
got
your
a
winner,
text from him, yeah.
93, Ryan Earhart of Stowe, Ohio, the owner. C. Brian Loney, the trainer. Tony Hall, the driver. 5-year-old stallion by straight shooting out of Bramble Rose. 153-2. Mighty Breeze and Tony Hall. We get a 5-9-1-3. 5-9-1-3.
So how many is that for Tony Hall tonight, Roger? Do you have that?
In that two,
It's 2 or 3, I was thinking.
I'll have to add it up. I don't want to miss these. I don't want to miss these payoffs when they come up.
All right.
Hey,
Derek, glad to have you join us tonight.
we broke 1 million, Derek. We're already over 1 million tonight.
Yeah, I got you at 1,064,270.
Here's the payoffs. Mighty Breeze, $380, $280, $220. Venovio, $463. Royal Regatta, $280. Exacta, $15.20. The Try, $52.20.
Let's get ready for the 9th. Let me take a look and get that all called up here, folks, and we can talk about the 9th.
I'm always counting Dave Bianconi's money, so.
I'm counting MGMs.
All right, here's our 9th, Roger.
That's 2 wins for Hall. Merriman's got 3 and Hall's got 2. 9th race coming up. Win Place Show, Exacta Try, 20-cent Northfield Single 6. Races 9 through 14. Field of 9, we've got Trotters here. Non-winners 8,500 in the last 4 outings. Up in class, the 1 Celebrity Pegasus, the 2 My Indiana. Down in class, Blenheim, the 4, and the 6 Osprey Vision. I'm going to go 3-9-1-2. I like Curly Sun. 9-1 on the morning line. Woo! Lion Stall for Marion Chupp. I like the 3 Curly Sun in the 9th.
Keith?
I am going to go to the 1 Celebrity Pegasus here. Comes off a win in the qualifier. Was racing very, very sharply before the break. He is up in class, as Roger said, facing tough, arguably tougher. But the horse just seems to be really sharp. I really like his versatility. He shows he can race on the front. He also shows he can come in from behind. For second here, the 5 Fly Jesse Fly. Just another one of these jailhouse Jessies who's been so good in Ohio. This horse facing primarily open competition here, dropping back down. The 3 for third, and we'll go 4 Blenheim for wrap it up. No super in this race. I just am so used to being Coney having a super in every single race. I'm used to putting 4 numbers on every one. So 1, 5, and 3 in the 9th. 1, 5, and 3.
Steve?
I had 152. I really like this stud horse, this 1 horse. Herman Hagemeyer, Morgan owns this horse. They were doing some updates on Facebook, kind of highlighting some of their younger horses. I'm going to tell you, during this COVID thing, they kept right on going. I like the looks of this trotter. The qualifier last quarter in 28 and a piece is impressive. I think this trotter will set the trot tonight. I like the 5 for second. I'll do a little call out to one of the owners on the 5, Robert Sidley. Robert Sidley's a famous, I call him a famous guy, a great businessman from Northern Ohio. He's a past OHHA president. I've got his horse picked for second, Fly Jesse Fly. And the 2 horse, My Indiana, Chris Page on this horse. I like a 1-5-2, but I really like this 1 horse off the qualifier.
Derek, what are you looking at?
I'm a little nervous because I picked the same horse as Frank. I went to 4-2-5-1 in this race. Blenheim coming in from Yonkers, obviously hasn't raced since December. Qualifier wasn't much, but I think this horse has a little bit of class. We've seen a bunch of these horses come in from Yonkers and perform really well. I think picking up Ronnie Wren certainly doesn't hurt, and I think he's in a good spot. As far as I went with My Indiana second, horse with some speed. I really think there's a chance Chris Page could get around the 1, and if he does, that puts him in pretty good shape here. I don't know if he definitely will, but I think there's a chance, and right now 13-1 is a pretty good price.
All right. Well, like they said, I like the 4, the Blenheim. And then I got Fly Jesse Fly coming second, and 9th, Jogging to the Bank. And I don't know why I like Jogging to the Bank. I just decided to go with him based off of last year. 19 times hitting the board out of 28, and first race out, hoping for something big. So we'll see what happens with that one. Derek, we talked a little bit about the open race coming up, which is going to be a slugfest for the next one. I'm glad you you were able to join us a little bit for tonight. Talk a little bit about what you thought about the first overall weekend at Scioto and clearing the $3.3 million mark.
Honestly, I thought it was a Herculean effort to get over $1 million every single night. I mean, obviously, I follow people on social media and had some conversations, and some people weren't that impressed, thought they should have done much better. But you're looking at a track that typically is handling, 220,000 on average. For them to go over $1 million, that's, more than 4x. I think that's a huge, accomplishment. Plus with the short turnaround, all the horses just have qualifying lines, not pari-mutuel lines. I don't think people are giving enough credit to the track for going to that height. I think if you would have taken another track that was averaging 200 or less, I don't think they would have done quite as well.
You have to remember, it's also a track that has never done $1 million before. As in all of its glory days, never handled $1 million.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
You're muted, Dave.
As we said, 1996 was their all-time record, and it was 1.2 million, but they hadn't handled over $1 million since then, probably.
Yeah, since then, yeah.
I would say for sure, and
I agree 100%. Yeah.
I predicted here 1.8 million for tonight at Northfield. That's going to come short of a record too, if I'm right. But I think that's what it seems like right now, and they're battling a couple of tracks here, so it really comes down to where they fit into these little holes in the.
We're
I have a feeling Dave will figure out how to fit them into those little holes.
We're going to beat that, Derek. We're going to beat that tonight.
I know. I was just complaining to someone that I think Dave hung too many minutes between this race and the next race, so we'll see.
Seriously.
Dave, you're muted, just so you know.
Dave's on mute. Let's pound on Dave while he's muted.
I didn't throw this one, so I can't.
This was on Colocaro, huh?
Hey, Dave, I need some help. I'm thinking that you've got a good shot tonight at $2 million. Because we've been going to 120, 130 a race.
Absolutely.
We haven't got more races yet. That's $900,000.
Well, the 13th race should be really good because we have that carryover in the super high five. So that, if we can put up a big number in the 13th, we might have a chance.
Yeah. Dave, when you woke up this morning, did you think you had a chance at $2 million?
I did.
Yes,
but
he did.
I mean, I hate to say it, Keith, I'm 29 years in. I like stop guessing at some point, just let it happen. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yep. I've been surprised. Yeah. You'd think I'd know what's going on after 29 years, but I'm surprised all the time. Yeah, so,
but despite 29 years, this is something that's never happened before.
That's true.
Nothing in your experience, nothing in our experience at Northfield has ever happened anything like this. So, the 29 years experience right out the window.
What is your record handle, Dave?
I just had Michael Carter look it up. I hate to say it, I didn't know, but he looked in the trotting and pacing guide. It's a little over 2.2 is our record. That might be.
It was a battle.
Let's set the record straight for a second. Michael texted me and asked me what the record was.
Oh, well, there you go.
Hey, Tony, I got TMP guides sitting here just for the record. I still have the print versions of the TMP guide.
It's $2,267,914 set on January 4th, 2003.
Wow. Huh.
Keith, were you there then?
Yes, I was there, and actually, that was a mystery voucher night, I think.
And that was still during the Walter Case era, probably.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
So we were rolling then. We were, we had some. Middle of winter, there was probably hardly anyone racing then either.
And we were I was 2 years in full time and 7 years in at that point. They probably handled that much because I was handicapping the card publicly. That would be my guess.
And I'm guessing Dave was selling programs.
Dave was selling programs, hot dogs, and popcorn. That was after our CFO fixed the popcorn machine.
There we go. Hey. 2 million's the target. If we have to fire up some betting accounts, I'll try to help if we get closer to midnight.
Whether it's 1.8 or 2 or whatever the number ends up being, it's still a pretty miraculous turnaround from where the sport was 3 weeks ago or a month ago, and the weekend at Scioto. Wherever it progresses. For those people who say it's a dead game, laddies, you need to be hit over the head with a baseball bat.
So Keith, let me chime in here. I will tell you, and it isn't because I like Dave, but Dave and I were talking almost multiple times a day, as I was with another permit holder. And one of the big concern was, if we got the latitude to go, if we got the latitude to open, would the permit holders say yes? And there was those that said the permit holders were going to say, no, we're going to leverage the casino. And we had 2 permit holders that said, yes, we will go. One said on the 22nd, MGM said the 26th. And to do that, they had to operate with qualifiers day after day after day to be able to get this done. So I've got nothing but gratitude to MGM and El Dorado, because they did more than just qualify 2 days. They qualified on their nickel to get these horses to be able to race, with the hope that we'll have a casino open hopefully in early June. And I can't thank Dave Bianconi and Joe Morris for stepping up and saying, let's get this done. We want to race.
Well, plus the physical modifications. I know some of those were in place early, because I know Northfield was among the last tracks to stop racing.
Yes.
And they kept going for a while. But, this isn't just like, oh, flip a switch and go. You've got to have the social distancing. The fact that we're doing it a 2-race paddock instead of 3. All these little things that Northfield's doing that no one person could think of all of that stuff. That's where that team effort comes in, where everybody, the horsemen, and I know from talking to Amy Holler that the horsemen had all kinds of ideas. Some of them were a little bit far-fetched, but a lot of them were very practical and very legitimate, and they were brought into the process of restarting racing. And I think that's the way that racing should be. It should be a cooperative process between the permit holders and the horsemen. It hasn't always been that way in Ohio, and I think we're seeing over the last several years, especially since the advent of slots, it's a different game right now than it was when I left it. And that's a good thing. Not the fact that I left, the fact that it's a different game.
Let me throw in Brent Wright, who is, I don't know what the new title is. I think he's the director of racing sports or something now is Brent's title. And he had a lot to do with it as well here, because, he and I, especially him, are in contact with MGM and tell him, hey, we can do this prior to the casino opening. We can do it safely. We can do it profitably. And, there was a lot of legwork, as you mentioned, to get everything ready for tonight, not only on the backside with qualifying, but on the front side, bringing all the employees back as well. So it's, it was not easy the last couple of weeks, but so far it's definitely worth it.
And Brent, he came into Northfield. When was that? Oh, that was like
10 years maybe?
It was early 2011. Because I happen to know the guy who left, who he sort of took the place of.
Oh, okay.
And again, Brent's a great guy. I mean, he's a super guy. I enjoyed working with him in the short time during that transition. And you're right. He's unbelievable. He's remarkable. And just kudos to you guys for getting this done. Great job.
You had what, 5 full-time people last week, Dave?
4.
Oh, so twice as many as when I was working there.
And 2 of them were track crew, so it was not, we had to call a lot of people back in, and they've been great. The employees and MGM's been great. I mean, so far, so good.
There were a lot of talk about your schedule coming up.
Yes.
Days you're racing, times, qualifiers, a little bit about what you've got coming up.
Okay, we've got racing this week. We race tomorrow night. Then we race Friday. That's an added date. We are racing this Friday, May 29th, and then Saturday the 30th. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday this week. Then in June, we go back to our normal Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday slate. So that's what's coming up. We're qualifying again on Thursday. Another, I don't know how many, however many I can squeeze in Thursday, probably 16, 17 qualifiers. And hopefully we'll have most of the horses that want to qualify back to speed after that. But we've already had 6 full cards of qualifying, and this Thursday will be a 7th. So it's been a grind.
And you're starting to put those up on your YouTube channel.
Right, yeah. You can watch those on the YouTube channel. And Derek, you can attest, the bettors do appreciate at least having one line to go on off of this pandemic as well, better than just nothing for 2.5, 3 months.
Yeah, listen, it's nice to look at something, and it's not even just the line, it's being able to actually see the race and see what happens during the race. It's certainly appreciated. You know, I played Scioto each of the 3 days, and if they wouldn't have put up all those qualifiers and I couldn't see them in high def like there were, I wouldn't have played. Or if I would have played, it would have been very small. You know, so that actually made me play, whereas I might not have played that much otherwise.
So what you're saying, Derek, is that if we hadn't had the qualifiers, the handle would have been a lot lower probably for these racing programs that we have had. So thanks to the qualifiers.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. There are people who would not have played at all without seeing some sort of line. I think there are people who thought by at least watching the qualifiers and seeing what's going on, they'd have a little bit of advantage on, you know, the everyday Joe, average Joe, who's just going to, you know, go on and, you know, pick, you know, whatever, you know, Fox's favorite numbers.
I'll say this, and I think there were some horsemen a little bit perturbed. Our executive director here in Ohio for the Racing Commission, Bill Crawford, had made this statement. He was willing to extend the day from 45 to 60 to try to keep horses qualified. Well, the first day that we could race, that pushed us about 65, 66 days out. And Bill made the statement. He goes, I'm going to have people mad at me, but in my opinion, the gamblers deserve to see that these horses are tight and ready to race. And we also need to think about the horse. And I'd like to think that all trainers are created equal. But he made the statement, I can't risk having a horse that maybe isn't where it should be being asked to go out there and race 105%. There's nothing wrong with making these horses tune up a little bit with those qualifiers. And I agree wholeheartedly with Derek. We would not have had the handle had these horses been coming off of racing in February and early March and expect people to throw a lot of money at some of these horses that were kind of unknown, which is much different than the thoroughbreds that are able to have workouts that are essentially charted and documented. We don't have that luxury in the standardbreds.
Hey, Derek, quick question for you. Somebody brought up a question. Did New York do something with their qualifiers today?
Well, last Tuesday, so a week ago today, the Racing Commission met and they approved an emergency measure to extend the qualifying rule so horses didn't have to qualify.
So two totally different things. So it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. And they're going to the gate, so let's head there and see what we've got and see if I can get this time. And Roger, be ready to give us the call again, my man. And you're up.
Yes, sir. Horses nearing the gate. 1 through 8 on the gate. 9's a trailer. One of the reasons they don't open those wings of the gate, a lot of drivers take their horses different directions than come up from the back. And you just saw there, you had a horse going the wrong way of the track. If he'd had the wings open, there'd been nowhere for that horse to go. So I think that's one of the reasons they also open the wings of the gate so late at Northfield. 3, 4, 5, and 6 are on the gate, and the others are moving up. 7 and 8 move into position. 1, 2 in the trailer 9. 1's in. 2 is moving in. And there's your 9. Gate swings into the stretch, and here they come. They're off and pacing. That's My Indiana and Blenheim going for the lead. On the inside, Celebrity Pegasus is here third. Racing fourth, Curly's Son. Fifth is Fly Jesse Fly. Racing sixth, My Indiana. Around the turn, Osprey Vision is here seventh. Dormont Lizard eighth, and treading the field as they race down the backside, going to the first quarter mark. The leader is Blenheim and Ronnie Wren Jr. taking the field over to the first quarter in 28-2. My Indiana is here second. Celebrity Pegasus third. Curly Sun racing fourth as they race around the turn, going to the 3/8 mark. Out and moving on the outside. Here comes Tony Hall looking for his third on the card with Fly Jesse Fly. First up, now fifth, now fourth, closing in on the leader. At the half, it's Blenheim, halfway home in 57-2. The end of the turn. My Indiana is here second. Celebrity Pegasus third. Up on the outside, Fly Jesse Fly, now fourth. Out and following the cover on the outside, Chestnut Showfield. Down the backside, at the pylons, it's Osprey Vision. Going to the 3/4 mark. The leader, Blenheim, been there every step, opens up by 2 1/4. My Indiana is here second. Three of them battling for the third spot at the 3/4 in 1:25-3. And Blenheim opens up by 4 lengths with an 1/8 of a mile to go. Racing second, the end of the stretch, My Indiana closing on the outside. As they race into the stretch, it's Blenheim drawn away as they please for Ronnie Wren Jr. Battle for second and third, Blenheim in 1:54 3/5. So the horse from Yonkers, now in the Michael Hitchcock stable, scores for Ronnie Wren Jr. The owner is William Hart of Carmel, Maine. The 7-year-old gelding by Yankee Glide at Are You Ready? 4 of 25 last year, wins the initial start this season, about 5 or 6 lengths in 1:54 3/5. So
I just want to show everybody just a quick recap
Frank and
of
Derek.
the picks there, just so everybody can see it.
Yeah, Frank.
Thank you.
Derek as well.
I had the cold exacta there, by the way.
Derek, yeah, the
Well,
Yonkers,
finish second, I
the
did not see
Yonkers
that.
horse.
Frank, what wins was that for you?
$107,000.
That was the lowest
Beautiful.
handle since race 2.
107, that was what we handled that race.
Right.
Yes.
That's
But
the
you went
lowest
off
of the
on top
night,
of
isn't it?
And you
I
went
think
off
the
on top
second
of
race was in the
Australia.
80s.
Second race they did 82.
Yeah, you went
Okay.
off on top of
4-2-3-9.
Australia. Asinobia, whatever, has 0 minutes to post. And you could see it coming before it happened, basically. You know?
4-2-3-9 order of finish in the ninth. 1:54 for Blenheim.
The problem with simulcasting is you can't avoid everyone all night long. So you're going to have a couple races during the night where you're going to land on the same tracks, and there's really nothing you could do about it, and it's going to hurt handle those races.
And Dave has
You
always
hope
been a
to stay
star
off
in
as many times as you
sacrificing
can.
one.
Right.
Yeah, Dave has always been outstanding at sacrificing one to maximize the next 5.
Yep.
Derek, explain upon that for those horsemen that maybe don't understand how important it is trying to hit certain spots and the difference it makes throughout your card. If, for those guys that say, I don't get this, I'd like to be home by 10 o'clock. And why can't we run these things off? Because fans get tired and they want to go home. I don't understand it. Here's the prices, Roger.
Blenheim pays $660, $380, $340. My Indiana, $1026. Curly Sun, $10. Exacta, $56.20. And the Try, $484.20. Derek, you got the stage.
Do it as easily as I can. I would take a 7-horse field that had 10 minutes to post on either side, which means the last race went off 10 minutes ago and the next race is still 10 minutes to come when I'm going off. I take a 7-horse field over a 10-horse field, with one other track going off at the same time as my track. Because when people see the 0 minutes to post up there, which Dave knows, and there's nothing else going on, they go to the track and they go to the windows and they bet that track that's coming up next. And when you have multiple tracks going off and they both say 0, they have to choose a track a lot of times, and they're going to choose the thoroughbred track more than the harness track, 6 times out of 7 or something along those lines. So you want to go off when there's no other tracks going off. And that goes the same for if Northfield's going up against Meadowlands. I mean, if you have two signals and one handles 3 million and one handles 1 million, you're more likely that people are going to be betting the $3 million signal. So it's vital. I would say it is the most important thing in terms of racing when it comes to handle. I would take the right post time over the right size field over just about anything else you could offer me.
Wow, he was preaching to the choir. Derek Givner. Yep. Could not agree more.
There's a reason nobody goes within a half hour on either side of the Kentucky Derby. Yeah, I mean, that's the classic example that the layman can understand. But yeah, it happens every night, everywhere. Hey, Derek, I got a question. I'm sorry, I got a question.
Before you go on, I just want to say, and it's not just how many minutes to the next race, it's how many minutes from the race that just ended. If you have a race at Santa Anita that just ended and it's not official yet, and you go off, you're going to get crushed because everyone's still watching what's going on there.
Right.
So you need like a good 3-4 minute gap from that big track. You know, they need to go official, and then you can go off. So
right.
You need gaps on both sides really to maximize. And if you look at the handles at Scioto and at Northfield tonight and Scioto over the last few days, the races where they've handled the best are the races where there's been a big gap. I mean, race 7, they did 186,000. There was 14 minutes to post for the next track. I mean, I've been charting it all night long. The first race, 151,000. The second highest handle, 15 minutes post to the next track. And the track before that went off way before. So it is really key as to when you go off and what everyone else is doing.
That's a great point, but I was going to ask you kind of an unrelated question. So we're all sitting here with this Ohio focus, this Ohio emphasis. You're in New York. Things are different in New York. New York's starting to open up a little bit, but you've got a little bit more perhaps of a national focus. Are other racetrack operators looking at what Scioto did this weekend, looking at what Northfield's doing, and trying to learn any lessons, or are they just going to go ahead and do their thing, whatever that may be?
I think it depends on the track. I think a track like the Meadowlands is going to do their thing because they feel like everyone should, come around them because they're the biggest, dog in the kennel, so to speak. I think there are some tracks that are going to look at this and they're going to say, well, this makes sense, but we always knew this to be true, and, we can only do so well trying to do it. And there's other people that, they're just lost on this. I really do feel there are some people running tracks that just don't get it. They're never going to get it. And it just doesn't matter, how many times we tell them it's not going to make a difference.
All right.
I mean, I've been preaching for
Thank God.
forever.
Hey, thank God, Derek.
No.
I've been preaching forever. If every track just worked together in some sort of schedule, especially now during COVID, where there were no fans at the track, so it really doesn't matter when you race. If everyone would just work together on a certain post time schedule throughout the country, like they do in Australia or Sweden or any of these other places, it would work so much better, and everyone overall would do better.
And you've got a great package available for anybody who's watching the races at that point, regardless of what platform they're watching on.
Yeah.
Derek,
tell here before we go to our.
Wait. You want to do some sponsors, Frank?
Yep, I want to do that, and then we're going to get the open race up there, and we can talk about that one. So let me first thank a couple of our sponsors, Kim Hill Real Estate. Standardbred owners Kim and Randy Hill thrilled to support our industry with offices in Dayton and Portsmouth. By the help from Centera Co-op and Purina Animal Nutrition, continuing their partnership to help Ohio horsemen and horsewomen with innovative feeding solutions for their horses. And by Cool Winds Farm in Lima, Ohio, a full-service standardbred breeding facility, standing 7 of Buckeye State's most popular stallions, including Dancing Yankee, Rockin' Amadeus, and Lucky Chucky. So now let's try to get over and take a look at the Open, because we're now, about 5 minutes officially from post time. So let me get to that, and we'll call the 9th race up, or pardon me, the 9th race we're on, right?
No, 10.
No, the 10th race.
10.
Win, play, show, exacta, try.
There we go. There's our 10th race. So, Roger, give us the rundown on it.
Win, play, show, exacta, trifecta, 20-cent super, open handicap, post positions 1, 6, and 7, and 8 were assigned. 2, 5, and 9, luck of the draw. You got 3 horses moving up in class. The 1, Real Peace. The 3, Attaboy Dan. And the 5, Luis Alberto N. 1 through 8 on the gate, 9's a trailer. How do you not pick him? Southwind Amazon, 10-year-old gelding. For the qualifier from post 4, a winner by a length and a half. Came home in 27-4, 152-2. His wins have been from post 6, post 5, and post 7, winning 3 out of the last 5. He's gone off the betting favorite at least 6 straight times, and probably a few more times on that. So I'm going 7-6-3-1, Southwind Amazon.
Well, I'm going to agree with the 7-6 exacta. I'm going to go to the 5, Luis Alberto, and just because he's a kind of cool trivia question, which I'll get to in a minute. And then I'm going to go to the 2 for the super. So Roger's a Pittsburgh guy. I'm a Cleveland guy. Many years ago, indoor soccer was a huge sport here in the Midwest. And the Cleveland Force had a superstar named Luis Alberto. And they were playing in the finals. They lost, and they traded him to the Pittsburgh Spirit, where he became a star for the Pittsburgh Spirit, who then played against Cleveland in the finals the following year. And Luis Alberto ended up scoring the winning goal against Cleveland to allow Pittsburgh to win the World or the MISL Indoor Soccer Championship. It has nothing to do with harness racing, but I saw the name, and I said, Roger's a Pittsburgh guy. I got to share that with him.
Who do you like?
Hey, if you want obscure, I can get better.
That was pulling one out. I'm guessing most of our harness fans didn't know that.
Hey, Steve, those games are drawing 20,000 people to the Richfield Coliseum. It was a big deal back then. I mean, you were probably only about 12, but it's
Hey,
okay.
I know all about the Richfield Coliseum. It's just down the road from the Hudsonite. Dave Bianconi lives in Hudson, but unfortunately, the Richfield Coliseum has been leveled. It's history. So I like Carolina Beach. I like that qualifier. He's inside Southwind Amazon. That horse can leave. Southwind Amazon generally doesn't. I think Bill Berkery's horse with Aaron Merriman will control the pace here. If he can get one soft quarter, just give him one, I think Southwind Amazon is going to have to grind and grind and grind. I kind of like a 6-7 in this race with the Bully Pulpit as 4th. I like Larry Clayball's new horse. He just got this horse, and you talk about a class horse. Attaboy Dan is a class horse, an 11-year-old. You're not going to find anything classier than this horse out of Western Terra, who now stands in Ohio.
Yep.
Derek, what do you think?
I will say, first of all, that Keith, I don't know if he's good at Jeopardy, but every column he sends in, he comes up with some obscure, fact or,
By the way, it'll be on
reference
the way when we're done here, just so you know.
that I have to look up and try to figure out, what it is. So, it happens.
Oh, Derek, you got a visitor.
Yeah,
You have a visitor.
they pop in. And I'm guessing it's my 9-year-old because she has, as my wife would say, interruptitis. She can't help herself. I went 7-3-5-1 here. I wanted to pick against Southwind Amazon. I just don't see how you can. I have to be on the bandwagon there. Mentioning Luis Alberto N, who Keith likes because of the name, I like because it's another Yonkers shipper.
Yeah.
Coming in. The same thing with the 3 who's coming in from the East Coast. These good. I'm never good at this name. Godinez horses coming in. Went to Scioto into the Perrin barn, and his barn was on fire. I don't know if this horse will follow that in the Ebersol barn, but just something to latch on to as far as an angle goes. Attaboy Dan's a really classy horse. If he happens to come up with a win here, he'll be a few dollars short of $1 million in his career.
Yeah.
Dave Bianconi,
Yes.
when's the last time that Southwind Amazon went to the post and was not the betting favorite?
Probably the Battle of Lake Erie, Roger. I mean, it's been a while. I mean,
Right.
or maybe at the Meadows. Yeah.
February
But
24th.
He is a machine, though. I guess you're right. He wasn't the favorite on February 24th. You're right about that. But he's a machine. He's a fan favorite. He's kind of like a miniature foiled again, making $1 million the hard way, still racing well at 10 years of age. And it's a shame the Battle of Lake Erie isn't going to happen this year because he probably would have been invited. He was third in the battle last year. Bully Pulpit was in the Battle of Lake Erie as well. So this is a really tough group of open horses, and I add in those Yonkers horses as well. Man, it's just a tough race.
Dave, is there no way the battle could be salvaged?
I just don't see it. There's so many other big races being stacked up in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so crowded that I hate to force it in there with that much purse money and maybe not get the field we're used to having. I almost think it's better, pass until 2021.
Okay.
Yep. It's a shame.
Keith, in my opinion, this was a really smart call that Dave and Brent made. I mean, it saves our overnight purse account some money, which benefits our Northfield horsemen. And if Dave had a subpar card, I think people would have questioned that. And he canceled that race. He has not given up on the Milstein yet. He's evaluating that as we speak, right, Dave?
Yeah, it'd be nice if some 3-year-olds race. It's hard to invite anybody if they haven't, if none of them have raced. So we'll see what happens.
Good point. Yeah. No, I mean, like, it wasn't that I thought you were right or wrong, more curiosity. For me and my history with the racetrack, that's kind of the race that I associate with,
Right.
And
I mean, the Milsteins are richest race, but the battle put Northfield on the map.
Yeah. Exactly.
I just noticed, Dave, on the shot they showed the folks standing back there by the paddock, I think Ron Burke's in attendance tonight at Northfield. He's there with these horses.
He may well be. What else does he have to do? You know what I mean? So he made it come to Ohio. He told me he's going to
get out of the house.
Well, we could talk about this later, but he's going to qualify 6 horses Thursday that they bought out of Ireland and Great Britain. Be very interesting to see. They're bred over there, horses that were bred over there. We'll see how they do.
Wow.
Now, do those horses still have the GB suffix in their names? And
yes, GB or IR, I guess, Burke told me. I've never seen one, I don't think.
Are they qualifying at Northfield Park, Dave?
Yes, they are. Thursday.
Wow. Are we going to have those, Frank? Are those going to be YouTubed?
If Dave puts those up, we're not handling their qualifiers. Dave's taking care of their own. And he's been putting them up on their YouTube channel, and then we've been moving them on.
I do a lot of stuff. That is not one of the things I do, but I'll see if they can get it done. Absolutely.
Your flip phone can't handle that, Dave?
We have an expert from Ireland on staff tonight, Mr. Roger Houston. I'm intrigued by this information, Roger. Do you know anything about these Ireland horses, Roger?
Were these the ones that were raised? There was a couple that the Burke stables had for a couple months, and Alexis Ladler had a horse up in Canada. I think maybe that horse might be in the Burke stable since they're back to racing. But yes, I know all the owners personally, and probably have announced their races on the Vincent Delaney Memorial Weekend at Port Marnock in Dublin. I don't have the names of them, but I would guess I'm probably familiar with all of them. And it was a big venture this year.
When are they going to qualify?
Thursday.
Dave, when are they going to qualify? Thursday? Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
See, this all started with Foreclosure Inn. The Burkes had Foreclosure Inn, and Derek Delaney over in Ireland purchased Foreclosure Inn to stand in Ireland. So that was the connection between Ireland and the Burke stable. And a number of the horses, Brett Lloyd, Alexis Ladler, and others have decided to take a shot here in the States with their better horses. And they've been very successful here in the States.
Gates about to roll here. Sorry. Go ahead, guys.
No, go ahead.
I just said Gates about to roll here on the Open and Southwind Amazon, even money. This is going to be a heck of a race, guys.
Field of
Right,
9.
called up.
Well, Merriman's going the opposite direction, so there the starting gate begins to move. Dave,
It's moving. Yep.
are you setting post times or does somebody else
No.
set post times?
Mike Colacaro is tonight. Yep. I'm just here with you guys.
Taking the night off, yeah.
But normally you're the one that sets post times at Northfield?
If I'm here, Mike, me, or Rick Jaskolski, one of the three of us is always here. Yep.
Well, I noticed that we're right on the money with the time of this race, and I didn't know if you were doing it or we thanked Mike Carter, but you told me this race would go right around 9:30.
That was just an educated guess, to be honest with you. All depends on a set of billion downs, right, Derek?
Yeah, I mean, and it's really the perfect window right now. You got about 6 minutes to Australia and 13 to S and OB. I hate the name of that track.
Cinnabon.
Derek, how much is in the pool? How much are they betting this race?
We're at 100,000 right now, and I would imagine you'd probably get about 15 to 20 more once the race goes off.
That's good. That's good.
Good enough.
No, it's a good number because you don't have any. There's no pick four or a multi-race wager in here as well. So.
Yep. That's
Horses
coming up.
Horses moving up and moving in. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 on the gate. The inside horses will move in as well as they going around the turn. The 9 horse just toying with you. The trailer in the second tier. Pacers are all in behind the gate. The gate swings into the stretch, and here they come. Off and pacing, that's the wayfaring man going for the lead. On the outside, Carolina Beach into the turn between horses. That's Luis Alberto in as they race to the backside. Racing up on the outside, going to the first quarter mark. The leader, Wayfaring Man, and Kurt Sugg lead the way. Up on the outside, Carolina Beach and Aaron Merriman now to take the lead as the field moves by the opening quarter. Into the turn, off a quarter and a speedy 26 flat. It's Carolina Beach with the lead by a length and 3/4. The Wayfaring Man is here second. Luis Alberto in third. Attaboy Dan racing fourth as they pass the stand for the first time, coming to the halfway point. Southwind Amazon racing fifth as they come to the halfway station. Racing sixth, it's Barley Up as they race into the turn with Real Peace. Halfway home in 54-2. Into the turn. First up on the outside, Attaboy Dan and Tony Hall. Now fourth, now third and closing. Out to follow the cover is Southwind Amazon getting the trip. Now fifth. Down the backside they go. Carolina Beach with the lead. Up on the outside, Attaboy Dan is here second. Racing on the inside, the Wayfaring Man. Southwind Amazon, 3 wide on the outside. Now fourth, now third, now second, now the leader. Southwind Amazon opening up with every stride. Racing second is Carolina Beach. The battle's on for third and fourth. No doubt about this one. Into the lane, the amazing Southwind Amazon. 10-year-old gelding coming home for the 93rd time a winner. Southwind Amazon, Carolina Beach, photo for show, 150 3/5.
Just to say,
Southwind Amazon.
Wow.
Dominating performance.
You could predict this stuff before it happens. You're going to do about
Most impressive thing
165
about that.
What'd you
Carolina
say,
Beach
Derek?
horse.
What'd you say, Derek?
I
Derek,
said
what'd you
you're gonna do
say?
about 165 that race. You could predict this stuff before it even happens just by looking at all the other tracks.
Did you
The
say
most amazing-
165?
Yep.
The most
165?
amazing thing, without
Wow.
talking about the handle part, about the race itself, Aaron gets a 28-2 second quarter. He gets the breather he needs, and yet Ronnie Red manages to pick up the cover trip and just win for fun anyhow. That's
Keith-
unbelievable.
Keith, my son is sitting next to me, and when I saw that quarter, I thought Aaron had it. And that was unbelievable what Ronnie did with Southwind Amazon, because Aaron couldn't have drove a better race. He drove it
Yeah.
perfectly and set that horse up to win, and he was no match tonight for Paul Holtzman. None.
Yeah. You're going to have to start giving him a 10-yard handicap, Dave.
There you
And
go.
it just goes to show you, he's not a one-dimensional horse, Southwind Amazon. He
No.
usually races on the lead.
Yeah.
He's good coming from off the pace, too, when he has to.
And give credit to the trainer Holtzman for having this horse sharp and ready to go,
Yep.
right off the shelf. It's not that easy to have a horse perfect, right off the bench to go 50 at Northfield.
Especially when he's been this good for so long, yeah.
Southwind
Absolutely.
Amazon, Mere Nature of West Bloomfield, Michigan, the owner. Paul Holtzman trains. Ronnie Wren Jr., the driver. 10-year-old Galliva Cam Luck of Artunis. Home a winner. Southwind Amazon and Ronnie Wren Jr. Handles now at 1,333,000 plus.
Hey, Steve, is that your son that I know from the old HHYF days?
It is. That is my son. He is he is in, unfortunately, he is in this class of 2020. And I feel bad for anybody that's got a son or a daughter that's a senior in the class of 2020. And regardless of what you think about the COVID-19, Roger's got the prices. Go ahead, Roger.
Southwind Amazon 420, 242.20. Carolina Beach 242.20. Real Peace 380. Exacta 820. The Try $32.20. Super 1866. The pick 3 $20.30. The pick 4 $44.90. And now back to Steve Bateson.
Yeah. Roger, way to fire them off quick. I was just saying, I mean, this COVID-19, unprecedented, which is a word that's overused, has really destroyed the class of 2020, those seniors all across the country, the opportunity to enjoy their senior year. And Frank has a child that was a class of 2020. And, I get sentimental thinking about it. I mean, yeah, he had a 2020 college graduate and a 2020 high school graduate. And you can't go back in time and relive that. And unfortunately, he hasn't been able to fulfill those last few months of enjoying his senior year. And it's unfortunate, but Keith, he enjoyed his time. You were a great host. He enjoyed that. And he's going to spend his summer, I think, down at the Brewer stable in Moraine, Ohio. And in the fall of 2020, he's going to be at Worcester at HEI in the equine programs. Thank you for asking, Keith.
It just seems like it was just like a couple of years ago that he was this little kid. And now he's graduating high school. So congratulations to you. And although you may have lost out on some of that fun stuff, it's not going to take away the achievement of graduating or anything that you can achieve going forward either. So keep that in mind.
I want to ask a question of Steve and Frank. I know how it affects your sons and your daughters. How did it affect Steve Bateson and Frank Frost as
Steve,
father?
I'll go first.
Steve?
I'll go first. For me,
Okay.
it was very difficult to see what my kids went through. That was the hardest part. My daughter just graduated from John Carroll, was a softball player, lost her senior season, and really went into almost a state of depression because she loved softball so much. It was a little different for my son. My son he's got such a great group of friends, and they stuck together online in that way, but still to see him miss out on so much of the things that he wanted to do, miss out on a senior trip to Cedar Point, miss out on just hanging out with the guys, missing out on prom. Don't know if he was going to go. He said, he didn't know, but to miss out on the things that, made his senior year. It was tough to see what they went through more than anything. Steve?
I would echo the same thing. I mean, for my son, he hadn't really participated in a lot of different activities. This year, he decided his senior year with the encouragement of one of his friends to go out for the lacrosse team. He made the lacrosse team, was one of the few seniors on the team, and I don't know a darn thing about lacrosse, nothing. And the fact that he was going to be on the varsity lacrosse team and was enthused about it, I mean, it just kind of stinks. He didn't get to participate in that to close out his senior year. And, to have to watch him endure online education the last, 2 months was very difficult, not only for him, but probably more difficult for my wife, to try to help encourage him across the finish line. It just stinks. I don't know what more I can say about it. I think he's made a memory that isn't a great memory, but I think, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, when this class gets back together, I hope like hell they have a good time, because they need to and deserve to have a good time 5 or 10 years from now. And I hope, Frank, your son gets that same opportunity, that they can close out what should have been in 2020, at least 5 or 10 years from now, when they have a class reunion.
I had to ask that question. You two gentlemen.
Go ahead, Roger. I'm sorry.
The reason of it. Steve and Frank, I had a daughter that graduated a number of years ago, and I know how I would have felt. I'd have probably felt worse than the students themselves. So I know it had to affect you and Frank. No question.
And I'm the same way. I haven't been a high school varsity soccer coach for 11 years. I couldn't imagine having to go through this with my girls. I mean, not my biological girls, but my team. And I'm talking to my friends who are coaching, who are so worried about what's going to happen this fall. But regardless, if I can give any of the graduates one piece of advice, wear sunscreen.
There you go.
Dave, you've got a son. What year of school is he in?
My son's a sophomore at Ohio State, so he had to come home and miss a gigantic amount of partying, I'm sure, spring semester at Ohio State. But my daughter is a junior in high school, and she was pretty sure a senior boy was going to ask her to prom. But I'm super disappointed that got canceled. I don't know. Man. Really broken up about that.
Yeah.
What a way to close out tonight's broadcast.
Yes, exactly.
With that, gentlemen, I want to thank all of you who have joined us over these we started them Friday, Saturday, and tonight, to do these, to really celebrate the return of racing, not only in Ohio, but in the United States, in North America, with our 2 tracks that are running here. I want to thank Dave Bianconi. The man did double duty tonight. He was working and he was on with us. It kind of at times turned into the Dave Bianconi roast, which was kind of fun. So we enjoyed that. I want to thank Derek Gibner for jumping on. Derek was with us Friday and Saturday,
Hey, Frank, the OHHA is famous for Dave Bianconi roast. Believe me.
I want to thank Derek Gibner.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
His wife had some things to do, so he jumped on towards the end of the night. And Derek, thank you for joining us the last couple of nights. Keith Gisser, great to have you and have you involved. You host our banquet, and now great to have you involved in this. Our president, Steve Bateson, who was here tonight with us, and Steve popped on the last couple of nights, and especially our brand ambassador, Roger Houston, the voice. I want to still thank one more time Kim Hill Real Estate, Centera Co-op and Purina Animal Nutrition, Cool Winds Farm, Equine Equipment, and Hagermeyer Farms for making this possible. And I do want to say, look for more of this in the future from the OHHA. We've got some things we're talking about, and we're hoping to bring you a lot more of these type of things in the future. But gentlemen, it's been a load of fun, and I want to thank everybody for being here. So on behalf of Steve Bates and Dave Bianconi, Derek Gibner, Keith Kissler, and the voice Roger Houston, I'm Frank Frost. Everybody, have a pleasant evening. Good night, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
There.